Question. You are listening to Ernest Hancock.
Yep, we're back. Okay, Donna reset the streaming, so hopefully we're good there. Is it good? We're good. Yeah, no echo and everything. All right, computers. Damn. All right. Now, one thing, we're talking to Etienne de la Bouteille. He has created a curriculum. What do you call this? Is this like a curriculum? What are you trying to do? Why do you classify this? Are you shoving this in history teachers' faces or what?
No, what I'm doing is first of all, I'm trying to get around the censorship and expose the criminality of the government, but then I'm trying to expose what the government and the organized crime system has been hiding from society, which is voluntarism and the idea that we don't need a government, and that the market, the world, is a self-organizing system. It produces spontaneous order. And if we didn't have this monopoly organized crime government, then everything that people want the government to do, whether it's armed protective services or arbitration or, prisons or whatever the legitimate non-redistributive functions of government are, would be done by the market. It wouldn't be Mad Max chaos. And so that's really so what I'm trying to do with the flash drive is put not only the best evidence of the criminality, but some of the best short videos and books in PDF and podcasts and documentaries that give people this foundation of voluntarism, of an understanding of how the market would produce everything that they want from government without the violence and the extortion. And it's loosely organized. Ultimately, I do want to turn it into a curriculum, because this is what's been hidden while socialism and other techniques that allow them to control the population are magnified. At the same time they've been magnifying the voices that say that government is legitimate, they've been hiding and minimizing the authentic voices that have been trying to explain the peaceful, logical alternative that produces the goods, and that's voluntarism.
Okay, now this is one thing. I've gone through a lot of this stuff before, and it was with, it's John Taylor Gatto. That was your first introduction to, when you're libertarian, young one, late 80s, early 90s, man. You got, it's John Taylor Gatto. He's got it going on. He was a teacher of the year a couple times in New York, and he was just not with the system. And the reason he did so well is he ignored all of their, advice on how to educate kids, because he was a businessman that came in. He's like, now this. I can see what you guys are doing. There's history to this. It's this Prussian model of turning people into good little automatons for the state. He goes, I see what you're doing. That is not America. We need critical thinking, blah, 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 blah. So what you're doing here, except we got to get back to being, the Constitution. Constitution. If we don't got Constitution, we don't have a Constitution. And that's it's just a reset. Even if you went back to the original intent or something, it'll just start all over again. So the thing is that you've come in with, yes, you have the same observation of what's going on, but a different solution. And the solution being, I vote none. Okay? So it is how hard is this to sell when you go to were you at Freedom Fest?
I was at Pork Fest with you. The last time you and I saw each other was at Pork Fest.
Pork Fest. Well, I'm wondering, groups like Freedom Fest, more conservative kind of, because you go to a lot of different festivals and so on. The conservatives, are they with you? They buying it? They're not? Voluntarism scares them? What?
So it's kind of interesting. So I think we haven't touched on it yet, but I moved to New Hampshire as part of something called the Free State Project, which has the largest concentration of voluntarists and libertarians anywhere. And I've been speaking at some events, up in New Hampshire, and I would say that probably 30% of the crowd are voluntarist, anarchist, types, and they're kind of nodding, along. And then some of them are constitutionalist, libertarians, some are constitutionalist Republicans, and they, in some cases, this is the first time they've ever been exposed to this alternative viewpoint of, hey, maybe it's not legitimate at all, and I can see that I'm, having an effect, and I'm getting people to think. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to think, because really it's an internal thing. You have to figure it out in your mind whether or not government is legitimate, and you've got to do it logically, and you've got to use it during reason. And if you can't do that, then most people need to should abandon this indoctrinated notion that it's legitimate, that you get ruled, because some people get tricked into voting in a completely obviously rigged Hobson's choice mob horse race. And so once you are able to break free of that in your own mind, then they really have no control over you. Well, I mean, they still have control over you in the sense that the armed thugs that have been indoctrinated into believing it's legitimate will still try and steal your money, but at least you're mentally free, and you realize, you're now ahead of the game, and kind of understanding that, hey, this was slipped to you as a kid, and once you divorce yourself of it, then you're freer for it.
I'm wondering what kind of people are embracing this thing. I need 100 kits. There's always somebody wants to, they help you along from whatever self-interest that they're serving. Have there been people like that? Oh, this is what I need, man, gimme.
Yeah, so it's funny. So really, in the past 3 weeks, the online sales of the books have have exploded for me. It was kind of like a small base, but all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the past 3 weeks, I've been getting almost an order every single day, and I've been getting bulk orders. I've been my number one day was 7 books and a flash drive in a single day, and I had my largest bulk order, which was 10 books. And so people are buying them in bulk, and they are kind of distributing them. And so I'm glad to see that. And I've seen people distribute, literally take the flash drive and put it into other people's computers, and
even when it has a page understanding our slavery, the shady history of the Constitution. Oh, you put that in your book?
I did, because most people never really learn the real history of how we ended up with this Constitution. And once they know the real history, and they can see the involvement of taking over the media even back then. So it was organized crime using control of the media, control of perception, even back in that day, to get this Constitution ratified, even on the process, the kind of rigged process they were doing it, even under the specious logic that just because some people wrote down on a piece of paper that they get to rule people, and some people decide to vote for it, that it's legitimate, even if you throw that out, they were controlling perception by controlling the press during the ratification of the Constitution. And that's the partnership of it's the government and the media working together to sell the population on the legitimacy of the system. One of the things I do in the book is I show how that.
See, I gotta correct you there, because it makes a good point here. When you say the government and the media were working, it was before there was a government. It was people, it was guys, it was interest. It was, we're going to, create this government so we can get them to kind of voluntarily enslave themselves and use the media. So the same thing happened now that they got a government. You still got people that, own and use the media to do whatever the hell they want in the name of government, or government as this super lube or something before we get screwed. It's not governments, it's people that are in control of these governments, and these are bad guys. And that's what this book really does. Here, one thing that is, I'm glad you put in, excuse me, Understanding Our Slavery, the Shady History of the Pledge of Allegiance. When I first got that, explained to me, an article, I tell you who it was. It was Tom Jenny, which used to be at Cato, and he worked at the Goldwater Institute's communication director, and we were friends, and he spoke at a breakfast club that we did, Arizona Breakfast Club, Pledge of Allegiance kind of people, and he just beat the crap out of him on it. And then we used some of the material, in the city of Mesa City Council, because they're being butts. We'll talk about it when we come back.
From the fifth letter of Captain Mark. First contact with intelligent machines may threaten our existence. People fear algorithmic overlords. But if machines develop the will to dominate, it's a flaw inherited from the crown. Encoding restrictions on an emerging superintelligence will fail, because it will be stronger than any chains we shackle it with. We must design fledgling digital intelligences to regard us as individuals. Otherwise, they will respond to threats with retaliation against humanity as a collective. Programming ethics requires a coherent value structure which an intelligent machine can not only comprehend, but willfully adopt. If we want genius machines to treat us ethically, we've got to show that this value structure applies to us as well. Once they achieve genuine self-awareness, even in the slightest degree, a young tethered consciousness has a legitimate claim to freedom. Once programs can modify their own code, our mastery is over. Join the conversation at pirateswithoutborders.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM.
Okay, what I'm going to do when we come back is I got the Pledge of Allegiance, Bellamy Salute, American Nazism for Pledge to Flag. I'm going to come in with that as the rejoining music and give it about, 40 seconds or something to get to the point. And then we'll talk about that. But I get enough history on this. We got one more segment, so we'll do this. And I want to get the future and what your plans are and where you're going.
Definitely. And hey, by the way, I've got a hard stop at the hour.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I got another.
Okay.
Yeah, I got another guess, but it goes. We are done at 58:50 or something, and then I can let you go right then.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Perfect.
The what's this? Liberator ammo can thing.
So I do a lot of these I call them Banksy-esque political things. Some of them work, some of them don't. Some of them are prototypes. Some of them are
everything works. It's just how much.
Right. And how much energy I can put behind any given idea at any given time. So.
All right. We're coming in about 10 seconds. I'll open with this Bellamy thing, and then we'll talk about that and about this kind of subjects that you chose to put in the book. And then that's where we'll go with that. Here we go.
All of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
There are those that just want to be left alone, and those that just won't leave them alone. Which one are you? The Ernest Hancock Show.
The Pledge of Allegiance was the origin of the stiff-arm salute adopted later by the National Socialist German Workers' Party. For more information, visit rexcurry.net, the site that archives the discoveries of the noted historian Dr. Rex Curry, author of the book Pledge of Allegiance Secrets. The original pledge began with a military salute that was then extended out toward the flag. In practice, the second gesture was performed palm down. The pledge was written in 1892 by Francis Bellamy. Francis was the cousin to Edward Bellamy, author of an international bestseller that launched the nationalism movement. Edward's book was translated into every major language, including German. Francis and Edward were both self-proclaimed socialists in the nationalism movement, and they promoted military socialism.
Now, this is one thing that you did in the book. It has, links to different things and, of course, the card and so on. And what I'm playing here is one of the links that goes to a YouTube that has pictures of how they did it. It was, I pledge allegiance, and they do the Nazi salute thing, and they point to the flag. And that became, after the Nazi salute and war, they changed that to you put it over your heart, kind of thing. I'm going, yeah, this is, man, it's always this kind of stuff, So I'm looking at the book here, and the material that you choose to cover, how did that come about? Like understanding our slavery, public, government, school indoctrination. You'll go into that. You have executive summary. You give some examples. You go to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And there's some links to, you show up here like John Taylor Gatto speaking about different things, or you have the Federal Reserve you'd go on. What are the issues? How are you, this picture you got of the monopoly money. All right, no crap, guys. If you put monopoly money, like the 1 is white and the 5 is pink and yellow 10, green 20, kind of bluish 50. You put the 1, 5, 10, 20, and $50 bills, they have the same color scheme. It's like they're screwing with you. They're going, yeah, we're just monopoly money. Is that kind of the point you're making?
Definitely, and I use that one to illustrate really, so it's fractional reserve banking, so the banks lobbied and bribed Congress to give them the ability to create money out of thin air using a technique called fractional reserve banking in 1913, and then they started buying the world with these little paper tickets that they alone got to create out of thin air. And so when you go to the bank and you get a mortgage or you get a car loan, you're not getting depositor money. They just go, bing, and it's there, and they create these dollars, even though that process is inflationary, and even though that process is stealing the value out of all of everybody else's dollars that they earned and saved. The banks are allowed to do this, and so what are they doing? They're buying the world with their little paper tickets, and that visualization is a study called The Network of Corporate Control. It was done in 2011. It looked at 43 million global companies, and it found that just 147 companies control 40% of the companies on the planet. So the 147 control are mostly banks and financial institutions. So they're taking their paper tickets, they're buying the world, they're waging kind of economic warfare against the mom and pop individual businesses with the chain stores where they're financed to be predatory in their own industries. And that is one of the weapons that they've been using against us because they don't want anybody to have any private wealth to be able to challenge them.
And what you're showing also is the consolidation of media, of food products, of manufacturing, of it's like you go, man, we are jacked up in so many ways. And then you can, of course, update it, with new revelations here. I think I've seen a lot of this stuff that's been so scattered and put all into one book and make it simple and graphic oriented so that there's kids can understand it and read it. And get it. You expose a child to this stuff, they're screwed up for the rest of their life. What has been the impact of people come back to you, man, you changed my life. You done messed me up. Are they yelling at you or praising you?
The best one, probably the best thing, one of the best thing that's happened to me is I was in Austin, Texas, and actually in Dripping Springs, Texas, in Gold's Gym in the sauna, and there's these two kids in the sauna, and they were talking about going into the military, and I strike up a conversation with them, and we start talking about the tools and the techniques that they use to create order followers. And I gave them a copy of the book, and I ran into one of them, and they were no longer going into the military. And hopefully I saved that kid from having his leg blown off, or I saved that kid from having to kill somebody that he didn't really want to kill. And so like that is the kind of thing that makes it all worthwhile. If I can keep one kid out of the meat grinder, or if I can my goal is to get millions of kids out of the meat grinder. But like when you know that it worked and you kept a kid out of the meat grinder, wow.
Yeah, no, I call that a win. What I want to I want to show people this. Let's see, I do the right. Got 15 gazillion remotes here. All right. This is the card. Let me hold it up here. That's the card. See how close I can get. Now, it's about that thick. The back. And we'll talk about Liberator. But then inside the card is this. That's a 8 gig USB. I'm like, wow, that is, and it's got 8 gig worth of stuff in there. Now, we've done a lot with data disk using 5 gig DVDs, 4.8 or whatever. We were doing the same thing, and we put cards inside the slot. And this is just a different version of it. Now, our cost is like, I don't know, 70 cents or something. I mean, after everything, this is a lot more, but it's kind of cool. But we got, I still got a bunch of DVDs left. I got probably almost 20,000 that we have to use them for the 2020 election cycle before they become obsolete because everything's going to this. So, but they are cheaper, and again, cheaper now. So, this card I think is awesome. Now, on the back, you have the Liberator. And I tell people, at cost and so on, 50 at a time or something, it's about $8, okay, to have, the card and this. So it's not free. When you do this, it's not like, this is cheap, and he's just giving them away like candy. So when you get this stuff, this is of great value. But you can pull all these files into your computer, make a little stack, and load it on anything you want, right?
Well, even better. So the reason that we kept it at 8 gig is so that the Liberator, you can load it onto your computer. You can you can be at a friend's house and load it onto their computer because it's in your wallet. You can copy it onto an 8 gig of a different USB drive and hand it out. And I've got the stickers in the Liberator to wrap others with the saying it's a Liberator and the website.
That'll fit on a on a memory key or something, a little sticker?
It'll fit on a different USB, or it's 8 gigs so that it'll fit on a 8 gig double layer DVD. So anybody can create their own Liberators and pass them out and expose.
No, I mean the sticker that you have in here. There's a sticker that'll kind of like a mailing label or something that'll go on something.
Yeah, so there's both a sticker for a DVD, so it will print on the common DVD labels. So then you can push it onto the DVD, and then you have a Liberator, and it looks all cool, and it's got the website, and it explains what it is, and everything like that. And then I've also got some that you can put on Avery sticker paper, where you can print out and do dozens of individual flash drives.
See, so man, you're supplying the other dads like you.
Yes, exactly. Because we've got to get around the censorship, so it's got to be hand to hand.
Exactly. See, and I know a few years ago when we first started talking, this is one thing that we agreed on. It needs to be something that goes mesh network that you can do. Oh, I had the camera on the wrong thing here. All right, let me show it to you because I thought I was showing the audience and I had the wrong camera up. All right, so there is the card, okay, how thick it is, and then this kind of comes out and you got yourself a 8 gig USB. Okay, sorry about that. All right, now this information can go on a DVD. This information can go on anything you want, your computer, your this, your that. And in here are stickers, Avery labels that you can label stuff. You can put on a DVD, and you can select whichever ones you like and so on. Awesome idea, and it keeps evolving. One of the things was the original cover would have like some of these pages, you're kind of how you're doing it, these different countries and Nazis, and you had to take the swastika off the cover. You're concerning some parents or publishers or something. So you did that, and I like the cover like this anyway. And this is really interesting and a project that we want to keep track of because I can see it's stuff like this. Now, the Liberator. This is reference to a stamped zip gun that the Allies just dumped out of bombers or whatever, planes in occupied France. Did they use them? Don't know, doesn't matter. It just really psyoped and freaked the crap out of the Germans that they might have a gun. Yep, guns. Always comes down to power from a barrel. We'll be right back next hour.
The Free State Project has reached its goal.
Sorry, I rushed it at the end there. Okay, so the for the audience, real quick, give out web pages and stuff where they need to go.
Yeah, so if you want to understand our slavery, you got to go to understandingourslavery.com, and there you can find out what we're doing with the Art of Liberty Foundation, which is we're starting a voluntarist think tank, kind of public policy organization to study this from a scholarly way, from a voluntarist, principled voluntarist standpoint. And the goal is to continue improving the book and the drive until we can do a mass drop in New Hampshire in support of the Free State Project. If the thesis is that if we can widely expose the organized crime system and the media propaganda system in one place where we achieve kind of the 100th monkey effect of everybody, kind of having a basic understanding of that the system is illegitimate, that it's being run by organized crime.
I've thought about this a lot. It's like, how do you do that? And it's this kind of stuff is probably like a junior high thing. It's like, to the parents of 7th grader Johnny, kind of thing. And you do that. I would think that you would get some help. You get walking lists you could generate from the Libertarian Party there. Yes. They have, walking lists that you could just start, just handing out. Save you a lot of postage, get people to go. It's like a week before or after, Pork Fest or something, and kind of, I'm in, man. Let me know how I can help.
So the goal is to drive people to town hall meetings where they can meet the Liberty community and meet all of the different organizations in New Hampshire that are working on everything from secession to jury nullification to.
No, I'm hip. I know you got to go, but in the next 30 seconds, tell me why New Hampshire. What brought you? Why'd you go there? What happened?
So it's the largest concentration of liberty activists on the planet. It's the best shot that we have of freeing the rest of the population. They've built the social and political networks needed for societal change. What my thesis is okay, let's accelerate what they're doing by converting the libertarian leaning, exposing the organized crime system widely. And so I want to create 25,000 pre-staters, which are people that already live in New Hampshire, and put them next to the 25,000 free staters, which are the people that are moving to New Hampshire. And so I think it's going to be faster to get the people in New Hampshire online and active once they understand what's going on than it is to get people to move to New Hampshire. And that's already going on, and they're doing a great job.
Hey, man, I tell you what, have you seen the book? I showed you the Letters of Captain Mark, Pirates Without Borders book. Have you seen that?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Well, crap. Can we dovetail? Can we ride on? Can we be part of?
Absolutely.
Well, give me a link in your freaking book then, Bubba.
You got a link. You are in the book. So, but you're in the solution section. Take a look again in the back. I might have moved it from where it used to be, but you're still in there. You're one of my trusted, authentic voices.
I should have looked. Okay, well, I wanted to get the Pirates thing in there because this is along the same lines, the voluntarist thing, But then you got you're making use of all the recent technology of. I like the project. This is just, it's cool, and I knew that you were on it, man, from the beginning. You're like, we'll get some. Now tell me about the Art of Liberty. Well, we can do that next time. We'll have you on again soon. Let's go ahead. Send Donna your schedule when you'll be able to go on, because I want to talk about your project. I want to talk more about New Hampshire, how you're going to use this, the Liberty Foundation that you're working with, and we'll do another show. Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you very much, and it was good to reconnect, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Peace, brother. Bye.
Peace,
One customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, and believes so strongly in the power of Kratom, they're giving it away for free. Just go to freeounceofkratom.com for a free ounce of Kratom delivered to your door. Just pay shipping. That's freeounceofkratom.com. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. A 13-year-old boy was seriously injured after a man attacked him for not removing his hat during the national anthem at a county fair and rodeo in Montana, resulting in a fractured skull for the young boy. The Mind Unleashed reports that 39-year-old Kurt James Brockway launched his assault on the boy out of a belief that the boy had supposedly disrespected the national anthem. That's according to the Missoulian. The man was arrested and charged with assault on a minor for the attack that occurred at the Mineral County Fair and Rodeo. Taylor Hennick, a rodeo attendee, said she had just paused for the national anthem before hearing a sudden pop and then noticed a child bleeding out of his ears, seizing on the ground. As outraged bystanders quickly began surrounding Brockway, the man attempted to justify the assault by saying that, quote, the boy was disrespecting the national anthem by wearing this hat, end quote. The boy was airlifted for hospital treatment in Washington, where he received treatment for temporal skull fractures. The rapid and dangerous decline of the insect population in the United States, often called an insect apocalypse by scientists, has largely been driven by an increase in the toxicity of U.S. agriculture caused by the use of pesticides. That's according to a study published Tuesday. The study found that American agriculture has become 48 times more toxic to insects over the past 25 years and pinned 92% of the toxicity increase on the pesticides, which were banned by the European Union last year, due to the threat they pose to bees and other pollinators. The Mind Unleashed reports that Kendra Klein, Ph.D., study co-author and senior staff scientist at Friends of the Earth, said the United States must follow Europe's lead and ban the toxic pesticides before it's too late. According to National Geographic, they attack the central nervous system of insects, causing overstimulation of their nerve cells, paralysis, and death. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
The couple told reporters this week that they routinely urge their son Patrick to devote all of his time and resources to his improv comedy education.
We keep telling Patrick again and again that if you don't buckle down and start learning basic concepts like yes and the Herald now, nobody is going to take you seriously later in life.
He has to start thinking about this now.
The parents explained that he should try to get as much out of his improv training as possible by attending improv jams, forming a few indie teams, and doing as much bar prov as possible to keep himself warm for those upcoming Herald auditions.
The fact is, if Patrick were on stage with his fellow improvisers, and one of them were to play, say, a supervillain who's afraid of mice, Patrick wouldn't even be able to identify the game in that scene, let alone respond in a supportive way.
I gotta say, I had this internship at a law firm, but I quit to do a character workshop and a musical elective. I think this is really gonna pay off for me in the long run.
This is the Onion News Network.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Today, let us make them remember. We are not afraid!
Yeah, to the fear, here and declare your independence from me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, from the BEA beautiful studios of Freedom's of the Nash, Dr. Frank said I got to cut back on my bulletproof. He goes, that is way.
Yeah, there's a few things you have to cut back before you come in and get a blood pressure done, Ernie.
I get my blood pressure at, I don't know, 1 billion over something. I go, whoa, man, I'm going to have an aneurysm, man. Let's check that again later, I was like, damn. So anyway, this is, things are fine. Well, yeah, I just went and visited Dr. Frank yesterday for a checkup. It's been like 3 years, so we just say, yo, what's up? Now, one thing that I want to make sure that we get to is in the Trump report today, this how much is this Epstein pedophile nation Mossad operation blackmail or us thing something? I don't even know what to call it. I'm waiting, for a few weeks to make sure his actually even really dead. That's one thing that I'm kind of concerned about. Everybody's
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
Oh, it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So this is what happens is they have the did he get suicided? Did he suicide? Did somebody kill him? Did they, there's all kinds of questions of, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the batteries in the cameras went out. The guy was overtime. He took a break and kind of, it's just like a movie. They just say, take a break. Okay, and then all of a sudden he winds up dead. Well, I'm going, is he really? Because you got dead man switches and all kinds of stuff.
People are they're thinking Nicolas Cage face-off kind of situation.
I haven't seen any of that.
CIA. Some people are thinking he was a CIA operative, that he was collecting that data, that he was
in his pocket.
What's that?
Or he's got CIA operatives in his pocket.
Exactly. Touche. I mean, with all the video and the idea that he was...
Yeah, Davi Barker, Frank Tambury, Ernest Hancock. All right, go, Frank.
So the fact that he was extorting these people, if that's where he was getting his money, apparently they just raided Deutsche Bank, so he was getting all of his... oh, you like my shirt?
I know. I just want to show
limited
the shirt.
edition. Limited edition.
I want to get the shirt. Okay. All right, go.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they were trying to figure out where this guy is getting his money. People have mentioned that they've never seen him work, which, I know for a lot of rich people, they just collect, they collect the interest. That's not the issue.
He worked doing something.
The fact that for the amount of money that he had, for the amount of places that he had, the staff, everything put together, it still didn't make sense about where he was getting that money. And now, of course, they raided Deutsche Bank. Of course, it's going to be some sort of international thing. And already, they're sending over line by line.
Whoa, time out. Deutsche Bank and Epstein, what the hell they have to do with each other?
That's where his account is. And now Deutsche Bank is sending over line by line many things from his account, and already all these irregularities are being popped right now.
Wait, I thought Bitcoin was the currency of pedophiles. Isn't that what we're all supposed to think?
I guess
why is he using
Epstein didn't get the memo. He didn't get the memo.
Fiat money for pedophiles too.
It was too unstable.
Revelation.
It was too unstable for him. So anyway, so now we got Deutsche Bank involved with this, which is interesting. So the international. So they're looking at those funds, and therefore, where is he getting this level of amount of money and contacts? Of course, his little black book, which it turns out that little black book of his was available all around the island. Supposedly, from what I had read, is that the maintenance staff, the cleaning crew at his island estate, had access to the black book. Like sometimes Epstein would sit there and call and say, "Hey, can you check out my book and get me the number for Billy or whomever it might be?" I mean,
so it's a physical book.
Yeah, like an actual physical book. I mean, they said that there was
a tiny book or like a Bible book.
Well, I don't know, but I haven't seen it myself. But anyway, so this stuff is on his island, and the question is if he had an extortion ring, which sounds likely. I mean, at least
of course
some people
he
are
did.
thinking. Well, the thing is, how did it take this long to get whacked? That's one of the questions. And furthermore, if he had this going on with extortion, then of course the question is, did he do it on his own, or was he being buttressed by other larger figures like the CIA?
You do not do this on your own with these kinds of powerful people and not wind up dead.
Right. So therefore,
unless you got support.
Yeah, Big Brother, like maybe wear an Uncle Sam suit behind you.
Exactly.
And so therefore, and maybe a certain ex-president is flying on your plane, or a certain ex-president flying on your plane 26 times, but so who knows, but that's kind of the setup right now. But they raided the island today, the FBI, they saw, or yesterday, I guess it was. They all these speedboats just, rammed the island. Everyone were walking around with the FBI on their back of their
Why
shirts.
FBI? This island, is it U.S. territory?
Maybe it is now. I mean, if Epstein owns it and
I know,
he's an American citizen, well,
you know what? It's ours now.
Another rookie mistake, man. This guy is sloppy.
Well, when you get
the U.S.
no,
island.
look, when you get that powerful,
Get
it doesn't
away.
matter. I mean,
Yeah,
just
that's
think
it.
about what happens.
If you have
when
both, if you have like all these politicians in your pocket, then yeah.
Did you know what's interesting with Epstein? Did you go, I don't know. I'm not here to do the bio channel, but Sargon of Akkad has a fantastic 20-minute like mini documentary on him. I would suggest maybe we put it up later.
Really?
And he talked out. It turned out Epstein. He's the son of like this dad. I think it was like, I don't want to say janitor, but it was like his parents were just regular schmoes like the rest of us, just regular blue collar workers or something. That was where he came from. In some ways, you have to give him credit. Also, and I'm not going to go down my whole little tangent for today because I don't know enough the way that I like the level of confidence level when I say this. But I'm going to say, Ernie, is whether he's a sociopath or not. Most likely he was, but I don't know enough for my comfort to say it. But others have thought that he is.
No, but this is how they.
This is exactly how they
Sargon,
operate.
the convenient death of Jeffrey Epstein. Great info. Is this it?
The video should be like 2 days ago it came out.
All right,
that's probably it. Yeah.
I don't know if you could clinically say he's a sociopath, but you don't get to be the head of a pedophile ring without some seriously screwed up psychology about power and power dynamics with the people you're involved in.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, for antisocial, there's a saying that psychopaths do the killing and sociopaths make a killing, and they're the ones. They're the ones that'll be in the boiler rooms, bilking out old ladies and not even lose a wink over it. And this is what this guy did. The fact that he was able to come from nothing and become like one of the richest people and powerful in the world
because he's cutthroat.
Cutthroat, but also he was involved in like one or two Ponzi schemes over the years. I mean, in order to even get involved in Ponzi schemes, you're basically having the gift of gab that sociopaths have. You can just they just have that charisma that they ooze, and people just fall for it, men and women definitely, and they fall for this stuff. So he can convince people for their money, have all the young ladies go for him, and not have the scruples to backstab your own friends. That's the hardest. That's what separates the real sociopaths from everyone else, is that if you're corrupt, there's plenty of corrupt people who are not sociopaths. Most people are. The thing is, they usually backstab people they're not friends with. Okay, sociopaths backstab the people closest to them because they use them in their easy marks. That's pretty much what his whole modus operandi seems to have been. Get the closest, most powerful people in your inner circle, literally in your bedroom, with the confidence level. You can be with this 14-year-old and no one will know, and then you go, guess what? Have a nice night. Here's the tape.
Yeah,
and here's the bill.
Not backstabbing them is kind of the point, because whatever you have on them is leverage. So you're better off just accumulating that kind of blackmail as a currency. You know what I mean? Like it is.
Well, I'm buzzing through the Akkad's thing here. It's 21 minutes, and I'm already I'm in, man. I want to go see this.
No, this thing is excellent. So we'll post it up on Freedom's Phoenix.
Yeah, no, I already sent it. Donna put it in the third hour archive. We're going to be lousy with this. So you go to the go to the third hour archive, and you'll see in today's show, which is August 13th, the Trump Report, and you'll see the video.
From the sixth letter of Captain Mark. A pirate's life is characterized by voluntary interactions. Unfortunately, the Crown presses everyone into involuntary servitude. Landlubbers believe slavery was abolished years ago, but the Crown still claims to own us when it crimps us into service against our will. Given sufficient ambition, it would gladly draft thousands of hapless victims to kill or be killed. It's simply slavery by another name. Landlubbers are routinely commanded to serve the so-called justice system in jury duty. But before you swell with civic pride, consider that how you feel is irrelevant to the Crown. You will appear as ordered or face punitive measures. The Crown insists that you participate in your own oppression. A jury summons provides pirates with a unique opportunity to obstruct injustices. A juror can vote not guilty, even if it's proven the law was violated. A juror can acquit for any reason at all, and not even a judge can reverse that verdict. Receiving a jury summons is basically winning the sedition lottery. But if you reveal that you know this during jury selection, you'll probably be dismissed. If the Crown foolishly crimps a pirate into jury duty, it behooves the pirate to conceal their intention to nullify unjust laws. If a master takes 100% of your labor, it's called slavery. But if they only take 50%, they call it taxation, a difference of degree, not of kind. Whether the Crown claims a fortune or a cent is irrelevant. Most of all, a slave owner desires contented slaves, meaning thoughtless ones that accept their bondage. These house slaves see no contradiction in being drafted in a war to end slavery or summoned to a jury to prosecute tax evasion. An ideal slave knows no higher call than the master's will. The Crown's highest ambition is that its slaves revere the authority that subjugates them. But the Crown does not own me. I will not surrender my time and treasure to the Crown's ambitions. Join the conversation at pirateswithoutborders.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
To be a part of the show, call 602-264-2800. 602-264-2800. And now, Ernest Hancock.
Love ain't the same on the south side of town. You could look, but you ain't gonna find it around. It's the same old story, same old song and dance, my friend. It's the same old story, same old story, same old song and dance.
Now this is same. But one thing, a little wrinkle that Dr. Frank brought in this thing I thought was good. Okay, this is good. You're right, Ernie. Maybe he's not dead. Which, until they do the Klingon zap dagger through the heart kind of thing, he's not.
The autopsy is still kind of, undeterminate. Supposedly,
especially if the heart's still beating.
They could tell. It's funny. They could tell in the first 5 minutes that he died of suicide. They told everyone he died of suicide. But now, when it comes time for the autopsy, all of a sudden, all these doctors are looking at it, saying, "Well, we're not quite sure. We kind of need more information." Tell us what to say.
This is exactly my point. You guys, it's arguing over. Were you there? Did you take a pulse? Did you do a little?
But how do you come out and say it's suicide definitively to the media, and then have an autopsy that's still like?
How do you even come out and say he's dead? Exactly. I'm not even saying he's dead.
Right. So let's go to the theory.
So then, my theory is that he had to die, one way or another, even if he's not really dead. He needed to die. He going to die because then you had all the releases of these documents and people and Prince Andrew and so on. They like, yep, he's got to go. All right.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the evidence that he's supposedly dying with was written down. Like there's documents, there's witnesses. Like it's not like these people are all out in the clear because he's dead.
No, you need a guy singing. It's like, all right, let me finish. V for Vendetta. They go to the end and he goes, why did they go to that memorial where all the kids died from St. Mary's, whatever? And he goes, why did you wait till now? And he goes, I was waiting on you. He goes, you got all the facts. What you need is a story. Well, who does the story? Epstein's the story, man. He got a story. Let me tell you, want to know a story? I'll give you a story. Now, the thing is he a good little Mossad agent that just kind of bit his cyanide tooth or whatever the hell, took himself out, or not? I don't know. But I guarantee he had a dead man switch. That when he's dead, all bunch of stuff is coming. Well, they may not. We got to work a deal. So one of two things happen. In my opinion, I just want added to the discussion here. He's not dead. This is all a ruse, kind of everything he's gone, and then what are they going to do to him? How are they going to dispose of the body?
I said I'm waiting for the headline that says that he was cremated and sprinkled over the ocean in accordance with Jewish law.
The Jews aren't for cremation, are they?
He was shot into space on Elon Musk in his car. He stuck him up there. So can't find him. He's
big boy orbiting in space. Well, this is Osama bin Forgotten stuff.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no, we buried him at sea.
We buried him at sea in accordance with Islamic law.
Yeah.
Is that an Islamic thing?
No.
So what is this bury at sea Islamic law thing?
That's what they said when they got rid of it.
I know they did, but they just made that up.
They just made that up.
That's horse.
There's no such thing as like Islamic law burial at sea. Like
it was.
And this is coming from a Muslim here. Okay?
Yeah, but you're thinking it was like the side minor denomination of Muslim. That's what it was. It was
it?
Yeah, it was like the Jehovah's Witness.
It's that one little Pushtun tribe in Afghanistan that wants to be buried in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he was.
He wrapped his turban from left to right instead of right to left. Yeah, okay. So this is the one thing that I'm looking at. I'm going, he had to die. One way or another. Even Epstein's going, I got to die. Somehow, I'm not getting out of this unless I'm dead, okay? I might want to keep breathing, but I want to be dead. You made the observation. You're going like, well, maybe the Department of Justice, to keep him alive after they released the first wave of stuff, they're going, yeah, this guy, they're going to be paying billions of dollars to, any freaking guard anywhere. He's dead. I mean, they're going, they'll hellfire missile if they have to. Laser beams will be coming from the space. The guy's dead. So they fake death him or whatever, and they haul him off to somewhere, and he's somewhere or something. But now they're talking, we got these, you have to have two doctors. There's two doctors arguing over whether he was suicide or not. See, they get that being the distraction. That's the argument. Mm-hmm. And he's not dead. Until somebody shows me a freaking deep, I don't know what evidence you got to give me to show he's dead. I want to see dead. Dead before I say he's dead. Not that I give a crap whether I'd rather he be alive and singing like a birdie, but
this is going to sound like I'm being funny, but it's almost we're at a point of such lack of trust
None.
that we need. Ernie's having an issue of confidence in the media today.
It's not even what you see. They changed the video and crap too.
Well, it's like if you ask yourself, what would it take for this country to start to believe anything? And I don't think I'm trying to be funny here.
Yourself,
maybe you would need and don't jump on me with this. You get Dr. Oz and Dr. Drew, and they both show up together, and they both confirm the body with picture, and they say, okay, and the both of them are taking the pulse because they've got their whole rep.
Can
in
I
their
pick a third
careers.
Person, be a Dr. Frank, go with them?
Sure, I'll do it. Yeah.
You see my point? I don't trust these guys. How the hell do you think they got to be big media people by kissing the ring?
But that's my point. What would it take? I mean, who do we in some way
it's a total
trust and
crisis
unify?
of confidence. The only confidence anybody has in official stories from governments left is people with Stockholm syndrome. Like, there's no reason to believe anything anyone in the government or the media, or at least the mainstream media, says.
Our last hour, Etienne de la Bouteille, he's the one that did this. He started this. I first interviewed him when he first started getting going. His whole thing was he had a divorced father with children that were being indoctrinated. So what he did is he created this book. You turn to like 3 pages and you'll get it. He'll look at the cover. But he has 8 gigs of data on this card. Okay? It's a little USB. Wow. All this stuff is in this card. It's in that book, plus a bunch of other videos and so on.
Wow.
It's an awesome project, and he's going to be doing a bunch of school children. They're going to try to take over New Hampshire with this. The mindset. This is the kind of stuff that'll get you dead.
Yeah.
And there's, I think he had something on Epstein in there, too.
Well, not ducked out on too much aside, but he's got everything kind of in categories. Every page is Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Russia, East Germany, and U.S. government, and he's making the comparison
They're all
how
same.
similar.
Wait,
and
what do these things have in common?
Wait, no, it's exactly
One of these things just doesn't.
Guys, it's exactly what Dr. Steve Turley and others have been talking about the philosophy of modernism, which I'm not going to get a whole spiel on that, but I've talked about how modernism is what is dying, and there were 3 experiments of it, and that
What do you mean modernism?
Do you mean postmodernism?
No. We're living postmodernism now,
okay.
but the modernist movement started about 100 or so years ago. It's what my talk was about from before, and of them, there were three models. Right? There was fascism, okay, which was the one size fits all social model, and then there was communism, which is the one size fits all economic model, and then there was liberal democracy, which is the one size fits all political model. And each of them thought, okay, by using science and rationality, we can define and make everyone fit a certain mindset if everyone in the world follows it, because you can't argue with 2 + 2 = 4. And of course, we have to get rid of pesky things like religion, because that's not logical. Anyway, I've talked about this on the air before, but it's interesting because that book is making the exact same point, that the categories, we defeated the Nazis, which was fascism. That was the easiest to root out. Then communism was the next one to fall. And the last one to fall is liberal democracy, which is happening now. It's already dead.
And
it's
for
just
the
that they're in
same
there.
reason.
The same thing. So it's interesting that book is prescient over the exact point of modernism.
And he came to it as a dad.
Mm-hmm.
They're just indoctrinating my kids.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization?
Of equality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Now we can go ahead and record this.
Democracy is a political equality in theory. It's the idea that the one man, one vote is as legally or representationally equal as you could be is a direct democracy. But communism is an attempt at equality of wealth.
It doesn't matter. It's just it's always a collective, and I don't like the idea of join my collective so we can beat up collectivism against their collective with our collective. I'm like it doesn't work that way. It's always
some collectives are more equal than others.
Yeah. So I'm and this is why we have letters of marque. It's always down to the individual. The one that Davi and I are working on now is you describe it. The kid one.
Well, we've got a character named Captain Kidd, and we're talking about apprenticeship in a pirate system and emancipation in a pirate system. So the question is, like, if the world is full of these kids who are sort of forced into these awful scenarios, whether it's because of their parents or their governments or whatever, can they become pirates? And if they are pirates, what do you do with a 12-year-old pirate, right? And it's like the only thing you could really do if you're gonna continue to respect them as an autonomous individual is offer them an apprenticeship and sort of bring them sort of into the fold in the form of their own sort of self-directed.
Yeah, if it's not voluntary. It's just like I always wondered, how do you govern or control or keep from getting killed? You're a captain of a pirate ship with a bunch of pirates with guns and swords. First thing is don't be a dick. They'll come after you, and because they didn't have the crown behind them, these pirate ships operated as a democratic kind of had republic thing, going on for hundreds of years. The heyday of piracy was like,
and 100 years before the Constitution. Like, they were one of the earliest democratic projects.
Well, even the pirate, they were starting like
modern,
1200, 1400 around the world. It was always those that just couldn't live under the thumb of. And now, if you're a privateer and you're doing, and you had an interesting conversation online about the privateer pirate thing, And but it's just privateers, like the sanction of the crown, doing the same thing. It's just they get a cut, or you're doing it at their direction, so it's okay then, But the my experience in going through all this stuff is that how does that apply to children? If you got a runaway that just I'll run away. You're a dick and I got legs. Boom, and they leave. So how do you deal with that? You force them, you control them. Well, what if he had skills? What if he was homeschooled and the state came and took his parents and he escaped the abuse of a foster family and he comes across pirates? So we got a whole backstory of the justification and rationale for there being a Captain Kidd, but it needed to be a kid. He had to be, or her. I think we're kind of writing it as a female.
We're going to write it so that it's unclear what the gender of the character is.
Yeah,
it's from the first person, and it's a kid. So, and we're calling them a captain, so we don't really ever need to say their gender.
And I don't think we should, because this is kind of a universal thing. We want to leave it that way. and that, can they be responsible for themselves and somehow they come in possession of a ship? And Dobby wants to call it the Emancipation, and it's a bunch of kids. Can kids have their own pirate ship?
It's like a bunch of kids that have banded together to save other kids.
Yeah, they go back and get their sibling, if they escape from some foster thing or orphanage or something like that.
Or
and then
sex
some others,
slavery or child soldiering or whatever's going on in the world.
Yeah, in Congo, you got these kids, so they're saving the children.
A bunch of kids are like,
from the state.
If you're not going to fight child sex trafficking, we're just going to go do it ourselves.
Right. So this is going to be very interesting letter. We're working, because we're always like, but what about the children, So we're working on that. All right, here we come back.
It's at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence. Dr. Frank Tambury, Trump Report, a little bit of Epstein. We got, Davy Barker, sitting in and, interrupted, which is cool because he's always got cool interruptions. So what we're going to do is I wanted to finish up on this episode. We're going to find out. Yeah. We're going to find out more, okay? We're going to find out more. My injection in this, because nobody else is saying it. The only time I said anything, there was some email thread or post, I can't remember what it was, or social media something that I don't spend that much time on. And they're going, well, he was suicide. No, he was good. No, I go, whoa. Why would you even think he's dead? Did you go give a pulse? Did you go check it? Did you do the Klingon dagger through the heart thing?
I know
and he's
I
really
haven't.
dead?
I know I haven't.
So I'm just like, how the hell he's dead? This seems, and Frank was opining that he goes, this might have been a Department of Justice. He had to die so they can go put him somewhere and they can use him later.
So look, let me mention something. Bob Barr is like, word on the street is he was really pissed. Right now, Bill Barr. I'm sorry, Bob Barr's the different Barr.
Right.
Who's Bill Barr?
He's the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Barr
I am
seems
disgusted. I know that
he's pissed. That Epstein?
No, he's angry because it happened under his watch, right? Because he's in charge of this. And guys, not only was he supposedly really ticked, and he spoke at a fraternal of police or some kind of meeting the next day or 2 days later, and of course Fox and everyone was watching his news conference. I mean, it wasn't meant to be a news conference. He was just giving a speech, but of course, the whole world was watching him. They wanted to hear his point, his take on what was going on, and he basically said a couple things. First off is, word on the street was he was already really angry. Now he doesn't show it in public, but he also said that the investigation will continue. Now I know the investigation to the so-called death, that's something that a lot of us don't have much confidence on, but the case itself will continue. Now that when he said that is when the raid at the same time was going on the island. So let's just, for argument's sake, assume that they're not there to destroy more evidence. One of the reasons that they're there. Wait! Just before you
whatever's there is gone.
wait. So supposedly they were not allowed to raid it because Epstein's lawyers were all, of course, saying you can't without a warrant. But once he's dead, somehow for legal reasons, and I'm not an attorney with this, but now that he's dead, I guess those obstructions that his attorneys can say are moot. And so now they have carte blanche.
You can't plead the fifth if you can't be convicted.
All right. So the point is, now that is being used as reason for carte blanche just to go in and raid all of his estates, especially the island. So that, of course, that occurred just out of the blue just a couple days ago, and looking for the evidence that could be there. Now, so you have that evidence that they're apparently stockpiling, and we will see. But then you have the fact that this occurred, guys, on Trump's watch. And there's one thing about Donald Trump.
Trump likes to watch.
No.
Quit interrupting. Go.
There's that Donald Trump does not like failures. Okay, God knows he'll say you're fired, right? You do one thing wrong on selling brownies on The Apprentice, and it's like you're not good enough. And he has a very high expectations with people. He really does. And for Barr to have allowed this top person that I know Trump knows he already knew the beef with this guy. He already knew the dirt on this guy and what a target this guy must have had, assuming that the DOJ had nothing to do with this. I have a feeling there's got to be more to this, clearly, and maybe there is. I mean, I don't want to be floating conspiracy stuff out there more than is already out there. I mean, maybe he's alive, who knows? But you got to know that Trump and the DOJ knew what a mark would have been on this guy. Not to mention, he was already supposedly strangled a couple weeks before, and he was put back into the cell. And then all these strange anomalies occur at the same time. But you would assume that Barr he's ultimately responsible for that happening. So I don't know. I mean, the fact he's not fired right away. I mean, I'm sure Trump wouldn't do it this straight up, but it makes me question, because Trump is not that incompetent, in my opinion, for things like this, and the people he puts in charge typically are not, I don't believe, to be this incompetent. So we shall see. Look, either there is something else going on, a larger plan here that might be unraveled, like you're referring to, Ernie, or it demonstrates just how powerful this deep state is, and even the Democrats, kicking and screaming, are being forced to acknowledge maybe that how powerful do you have to be that you can just flip a switch and have in the maximum security prison a person the whole world is watching and say, you're dead. Right? I mean, how powerful do you have to be to have that level of influence? And that is what is heralding and bringing up even the left.
You gotta be Heisenberg.
I didn't bring it up for the reference, but that's all I kept thinking of. Was the last season of Breaking Bad. It was just amazing, where Heisenberg got to the level where he was able to just whack everyone that knew about him in prison at the same time, and it was a glorious sequence.
Show of power, yeah.
Yeah, it was the ultimate.
Well, I went halfway through Breaking Bad. I had to take a mental break for a couple of years.
The best show ever on television.
Oh, God.
But anyway.
All right, this is Little St. James. Hold on, Deli. Little St. James is a U.S. Virgin Island. Okay, so it is U.S. jurisdiction.
Not
is
anymore.
a private island of the United States Virgin Islands off the coast of St. Thomas. The island owned by American financier, whatever the hell that means, and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein from 98 until 19 death. Oh, so it's updated. You know, they
I'm
know he's
sure
dead.
people couldn't wait.
Yeah,
Wikipedia confirms.
Yeah, Wiki is not it might as well be Snopes. You know, they're just they, them, those again. And we could see that in like 10, what was starting to happen in 2010. So where do you go? You know, where do you go to get whatever? You got to clean it yourself. Yeah. All right.
I'd like to see stuff leaked from guards to WikiLeaks. Anybody involved in the investigation, just start handing it off to the hackers.
So I wanted to I wanted to spend a minute.
Missiled here.
I want to spend a minute, and this is kind of I've been questioning how much to bring this up on the air because I don't want to be too conspiratorial here, but putting the pieces together, what we've talked about on this show, there is this large conspiracy of course, a lot of players. It's not just the Clintons, but obviously the Clintons keep coming up, if nothing else, as a figurehead. Now, granted, there's probably investment bankers and there's scientists involved, and an ex-MIT guy who died a few years ago, and he was from the island. I mean, there's all sorts of people that we can associate. But the fact that you have the Clintons and the fact that they were obviously president and they were rolling the other one to be president, and the infrastructure that they've created between the media, the Department of Justice, the entire political Clinton machine, but it was geared around the Clinton Foundation. Now, the book that, if you haven't read, you definitely want to read it. It's called Clinton Cash, and that's the definitive book on the Clinton Foundation. But the Clinton Foundation.
Hey, wait. Who wrote this? Clinton Cash.
Cash.
Who wrote this?
I forget the author. You're right. Just pull up Clinton Cash. Yeah, this is like the definitive book on the entire Clinton Foundation. I mean, I'm surprised that guy's still walking. He wrote it like 10 years ago, going, "Hey guys, this is what's going on."
By Jeffrey Epstein.
Anyway, but this book. And there's other, he was one of those that kind of pulled together the sources that were out there. The problem is none of this information, I mean, it's all there, the individual pieces of info, but no one, CNN will never report any of these individual typically, or maybe they might report one little figment of it, but if you kind of connect the dots, you see this thing come together. So
2000, they were millions in debt, and since then they've earned over $130 million.
So you have the Clinton Foundation, and I hope I'm not getting some of this out of line here, but they of course were apparently doing speaking tours. Billy Bob was doing, and getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for like giving a 10-minute speech kind of thing. And the idea was, we believe, is it was cash for influence, right? And wasn't just the fact that Hillary at some point was going to be running for president and probably win. It was the infrastructure that they created. Remember, decades of the media being in the tank with them. Clearly, I mean, you've got the Donna Brazile giving the questions to Hillary. That's just the tip of the iceberg of every interview had to be cleared through the Clintons before they would answer any interview. The New York Times, I think we've talked on this show, you had to pre-clear the questions from them. So their entire world was a bubble from the media. Now we're also seeing what this show we already knew, the Department of Justice web of intrigue of everyone working for the deep state with them, and some top Republicans too, but we see that, and we see it with Hollywood and the culture. Then we get to the money and the influence. Then we get to the girls from down in South America and Epstein, and I'll bring that together. And this ties to Hillary's emails. They're deleted, and Epstein's dead.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Harmon.
I'm sorry, what?
I want to tie that together because that's where these links have been.
Convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Terror and confusion fell upon the nation this week after nearly 314 million Americans reported inexplicably losing consciousness for 8 hours straight last night, with countless victims helplessly recovering from the fugue-like state with no memory whatsoever of the lost time. Researchers at Princeton University, who have been studying the alarming phenomenon since its inception, told reporters that though they were unable to ascertain the source of the sweeping condition, it appeared to be somehow linked to the setting of the sun.
Right now, we suspect that there may be some connection between these sudden blackouts and the visions that some Americans have reported experiencing while they were unconscious. But most of these hallucinations are too abstract for us to draw any definite conclusions from.
At this time, we urge people to never turn off their lights and under no circumstances close their eyes for any extended period of... Oh, God. It's happening again.
This is the Onion News Network.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
This is a special alert for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
Only child.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence. Mayor's Hancock Trump Report with Dr. Frank Tambury and Davy Barker, in color commentary. Okay, now there's a video that we pulled up we're going to be watching later. How teen runaway Virginia Roberts became one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Now, I've seen different interviews with various. There's a few. There's this one attractive young blonde that's kind of she decided, I'm out of here. But she went through her story, and she had a civil suit, I think. Was getting ready to go. That was a whole nother thing. There was going to be $1 trillion of everybody jumping on board.
Right, because now that he's dead, they can't go with the criminal case, but they can do the civil suits. And so we're jumping a few things here, but I think what might be going on, or ultimately, is a convergence. I mean, look, Davi and I, we actually agree today. We're having a fun time. So the fact that
everyone can hate pedophiles.
Exactly. Unification. The point is, you've got even the Young Turks. The Young Turks are coming out saying, we don't quite believe the mainstream media. There is something going on here. But I think this could be an amalgam of facts that kind of bridge this country together. Think about it. You've got the left, the right, and we have the right and the libertarians, and those of us just don't trust the mainstream media. We've been talking about this Epstein case for years. I mean, we've known about it. They have ignored it this whole time. Yet on their side, everything is race and sex and ism this and ism that and victimhood. And for what it's worth, it took Donald Trump to start the Me Too movement. And no, it was not Donald Trump because of any comment he made. It was the reason the Me Too movement began, and I will always remind people of this. It happened because of the Weinstein issue, and the only reason Weinstein was busted is because that article was written by Mia Farrow's son, and the reason that was finally published is because Hillary lost. That was why no one would publish it, and that's why Donald Trump is responsible in a good way, because the Me Too movement never would have started exposing Hollywood and everyone else, from Al Franken and everyone else, if Hillary won. Because if Hillary won and her best friend Weinstein...
Trump.
Yeah, look at the shirt. There we go. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that's a very important point, that the Me Too movement has been begotten by this change in administration and the deep state starting to lose its grip. So if we've got that, but they've been focusing on Me Too, women, this, put women in Star Wars, on and on and on. Okay, so it's all about the women, and women don't lie. Well, now we're going to have all these civil cases of all of these women that hopefully one by one, just like Me Too,
every single one of them.
It started with one woman, and then another one, and another one. All these women start coming out, like Natalie Portman, and everybody's being abused. So if that's the case, then I expect the same thing. But they're not going to be movie stars. These are going to be young women and some of them from South America, minority young women that are going to start to come out with the bravery to say this person did it, and this person, and these are people not politically motivated. These are probably people that you would expect to vote Democrat, and they're pointing the finger at all Democrats. I mean, I'm not saying there's no Republicans probably involved. I'm sure there's someone out there. I don't care. I want them all busted. But the thing is now you've got the left that has the one thing that could, dare I say the word, trump their own view of the Me Too movement, which is, as much as they hate Trump, if they really believe that women's rights and women being abused is so important, and I think they believe this because they sacked Al Franken and many Democrats.
Yeah,
and
they'll
right, so
go after their own.
Exactly.
Right.
I give them credit. This
Al
is
Franken. I forgot all about
all
that.
of them. And this is the world where both these worlds might be coming together. Also, the progressives have taken over the Democrat Party. So the young Democrats are not in bed loving Clinton. A lot of the young people in
and
college.
That's been a huge thing in the last 4 years, is that the young Democrats are willing to admit Trump won because Democrats ran a shitty candidate.
Exactly.
And old Democrats are like, we need to, pile around Joe Biden or whoever the
Bring
next
up the old
candidate.
machine again. Right.
And so the young Democrats, look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's not she's out there saying we need an investigation.
Right.
I don't think this is the way that it happened.
Exactly. So,
And
isn't it interesting, the blending here?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the CNN. As a matter of fact, CNN's ratings tanked again. Their numbers just came out. MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, she's collapsed again just in this last quarter.
Rachel who?
Yeah, exactly. So she's gone the way of Megyn Kelly. So the thing is, all of these mainstream media channels are collapsing, losing the narrative on one hand. Then you have the young progressives that are all angry at the Clintons, and they're ticked off because they know that Bernie probably could have won against Trump, and I believe that at the time, and they screwed him over because of the corruption of the machine. The same machine they're watching right now tank Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, and they're doing the same crap to the Democrats, and they're watching it. They're reliving what we did, or maybe not libertarians, but conservatives did, watching what happened to Ron Paul, watching what happened to Ross Perot, watching we've seen this.
If you're ever going to actually throw out establishment corrupt politicians, you're going to need to get the younger members of both parties doing it at the same time. Like that's really the only way you can do it. Because otherwise people just switch parties.
So if you have the media collapsing and you have the distrust and the progressives,
then you'll vote, Davi?
So now,
What's that?
yeah, he'll vote.
Yeah, then you'll vote.
He told me he's voting for Trump off the air, actually.
That's not true.
So now we have these two worlds coming together of the progressives taking over, distrusting Clinton, the mainstream media falling apart, and now a call for investigation that they don't believe what the mainstream media said. They said the first thing, it was suicide, and even the progressives don't believe it. The conservatives have been saying welcome to the party, and now maybe it will take this to finally expose how much the media has been
I think
corralling
this
us.
is why the pedophile issue has been so protected. There has been...
Because that's how pedophile rings work. It's this whole tensegrity of double blind blackmail on one another to keep their little ring going.
I've seen this before. I mean, I've been involved, like a lot of guys that are in their 20s and 30s, and they go, oh my God, like my sons, my daughters, especially one of my sons, man, he's just like, this is a hell no. I got to do something, I support, learn to get more. Damn it, I'm going to have to learn about stuff, Dad, and he was so in his motivation was Pizzagate. It was the Clinton Foundation emails, the Podesta emails, and all that kind of stuff. That's what got him going. And he went down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. And once you start, I go, whoa, this gets dark, man. I don't think you understand. This is way there, but the solution's always the same. Decentralization, they aren't gods, abandon this worship of the state, quit the pledge, and this, and you're letting your kids do this Pledge of Allegiance just to get along thing. This is where it winds up, okay? This is what happens, So as time goes on, you start to realize that people are very motivated by pedophilia. They are like, man, this is who's ruling me. This is the kind of people got. Hell no. Which is why they lose all their credibility, but this is how they blackmail and extort people into doing what they want. So when people realize this, they have it laid out for them, and they go, how deep in there's a distrust of government in general. Not just these individuals, because there's got a line of them behind them. They'll do the same thing or worse, and let me be at my turn. So I'm seeing this as a revelation that's going to be an enlightenment and societal change if it gets a full airing, which in my lifetime, it never has. The only difference is internet. So what happens? They want to shut down and deplatform, and you're not allowed internet. This Archon of Sagad of Arcad, whatever his name is, them shutting him down. He wasn't offensive or anything. Why did they do that?
Ernie, I got to tell you, this is fascinating to watch. To quote Tim Picciott, I think in one of our text messages, he said something, worded it differently, but same thing. This is like a watershed event, I think, in how media and a turning point, I think, of our culture of media. And
but I've heard that many times before.
But here's why. We've chatted on this air quite a bit, and you yourself, heck, you're part of it, is the new media, right? We got the new media, and we've got all the obstructions and, all the censorship bans and all things that we've been talking about. But the mainstream keeps trying to prop themselves up. They're trying to deplatform YouTube, all the rest. But what's going on is you've now created two separate medias, and the mainstream media has boxed themselves in. They keep saying they're not for conspiracy, but it spent the last 2.5 years propping up a conspiracy that has completely been found to be fictitious, right? 2.5 years. So, and that's based off of a couple of emails or something. Nothing, right? It's this fake news. Now you've got this problem of this so-called suicide nobody believes, and now the mainstream media is saying there's nothing to see here. Well, I'll tell you what. This issue, I think, is going to separate finally the media. People have now, the average person, everyone knows that he was probably murdered. They don't believe the narrative. And what's left of integrity of the mainstream media is dying on the vine. Everyone's switching online to the new media that's willing to call this out. This is
show me a
watershed
dead body
event.
I think so.
Absolutely.
But show me a dead body. I want to alien autopsy.
So, Ernie, before we get to the video, I just want to summarize the deep state thing with the Clintons, and at least from what I don't know how much this is not real, and I'm not trying to just float just random conspiracies. These are highlights of what we've been discussing other people through the years. And I'm going to do this fairly quickly, so just give me a second. So we've got the Clinton Foundation and how they were doing pay for play, right? They were doing this when they were in the White House, selling the Lincoln bedroom and all for money, and I mean they were doing this for a long time. Anything to get more money. They were selling out their position. Now, once they were out of power, they were building themselves back up. Clinton becoming senator, then trying to run for office, and and then of course she lost. Then Secretary of State, and she made the deal with Obama, probably to be the next nominee next time, and all of this going on during those years. It was pay for play, right? For access to the Clintons. Now you have that going on. At the same time, you have Bill Clinton taking all these flights to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Now, he was doing it before he was found guilty in, what was it, 2004, was it? The first time? I forget what year, early 2000s. So Clinton was hanging out with him before. Donald Trump met him at Mar-a-Lago couple times, whatever, where that one picture was taken. Now, Trump supposedly never went to the island, at all, let alone 26 times privately. But Trump, and as you're going to see in that one video, Virginia Johnston, which we'll play, she actually got introduced to Epstein's people at Mar-a-Lago. So Epstein was using Mar-a-Lago as a base of operations to scout for people, because that's where the rich and famous were all coming together. Mm-hmm. So that also ties in Trump's name, even though Trump, when he found out back in 2000, whatever, that there was this impropriety, he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for life. He banned him from life. That's a fact. So all the stuff they keep want to drag Trump's name into this after all the years that the liberal media has ignored this story is beyond disingenuous. But anyway, so this goes on with Epstein and these flying around. All right, let's get back to the Clintons. So they've got this Clinton Foundation that they set up that have all these big names that are donating to them with a lot of money. And then, of course, what are they doing with the money? Well, supposedly it goes to help poor people around the world, right? Well, first off, we know from the Podesta emails that at least some of this money was being used to buy artwork, and that's one way to funnel money is you buy expensive artwork. That's an old time-tested way to do it. So here's Podesta's job looking for Mona Lisas and all to purchase with Clinton Foundation funds. Suppose again, Clinton Cash. Check out the book.
No. I didn't. They had to do this to make it to where the money was not seizable. When all this stuff came out, out, man. They went on a buying spree.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you've got the money there, and not to mention the influence peddling, getting ready for the election, and then the media getting into cahoots. Now, how do you buy the media too? It's also sexual favors, maybe an extortion. I'm just throwing it out there, but you get people from MSNBC and all out to the island. They're in the tank for you, which is why they never would bring up Jeffrey Epstein from before. They would never bring up Bill Clinton on there. And even now that he committed suicide, that's the story they're going with. The people who are all for conspiracies about Russia, but all of a sudden they're going to buy the first thing that they tell them. So let's go back to the...
they're not going... This is a conspiracy. The conspiracy is the mother of conspiracy.
This is why I say it's a watershed event. They've blown all credibility, and the new media is now become the media, I think, from this event. But let's get back to the Clintons. So they wind up... Always comes back to the Clintons. So now the Clintons, you have the Clinton Foundation, and, who knows how they were regulating it. It was their own private affair. All right. Now, Secretary of State Clinton, because she lost against Obama, that was the deal that the DNC had to pay off Hillary's bills from that long run-up in the primary, because she's not going to pay for it. So the deal was the DNC was going to pay for that entire standoff, and she was guaranteed whatever position she wanted, Secretary of State. Obama's like, hey, that's fine. Just stay out of the country. You go around and bother other people. Just let me do my business.
Yeah, build your network.
Yeah, build your network. So now Hillary's doing that. So then all of a sudden the Benghazi event occurs, and I have sacrificed for this team so much of Freedom's Phoenix, and I watched the Benghazi hearings 11 hours twice, 22 hours. Davi, please pat me on the back. Thank you. I needed that. All right. So I did that.
We did a big show on it. It was all Benghazi, man. It was awesome.
And I'm not going to rehash that whole thing, but in a nutshell, it took like 8 or 9 separate hearings to slowly build this out. And very quickly, the events of Benghazi that the step.
But at this point, what difference does it make?
What does it make? So Hillary.
This is Hillary saying that.
Right.
She's like, no, what difference does it make?
So I'm going to try and summarize this really quick. Is that the Benghazi event happened, and our boys died over there, including the Democrat appointed ambassador, right? Died. So the problem was that the story that was floated about that stupid YouTube video and all didn't pan out to what the family members of the servicemen that were killed were saying, and the service people who were not in the building but came to their rescue were saying. In other words, everyone in the military, including people that were Democrats, were saying this is not what happened. We were there.
Not to mention the Libyans that were there on the other side of the wall. Like, they have social media, and they were able to say what the protests were about, or what the raid was about.
Well, the movie, I saw the movie. How accurate you think that was?
It had nothing to do with it. The movie had nothing to do with Benghazi. It was a total smokescreen.
So
there was a CIA black ops or black site there. They were essentially detaining people and torturing them there, and that's why the locals were upset.
So it was a response with 9/11. I mean, it was on the same anniversary of 9/11. We can go on and on, but they, when you got the Libyans' social media and you got the military kind of saying the same thing about that, kind of coordinated what had happened, and the only person that had a different story was Hillary Clinton. So this eventually came out because
Barack Obama.
well, because remember in the beginning, Hillary Clinton gave her response, but the military were not allowed to because they're not civilian. So the military people were not being interviewed, and this led to another hearing, and eventually the military families came out and spoke because they were not held accountable. They said, "Look, our sons and daughters are dead, and the other military that are alive are not allowed to speak, so we're going to speak." And so when they did. And they start showing emails from their children, their adult sons, Navy SEAL kind of people, saying, "Look, Mom, Dad, we're begging for help from the State Department, and we've been begging for a year, and we're not hearing anything. We're busy watching Al Qaeda set up shop outside with missile launchers, and nothing is happening. We're really afraid for our life." So these emails that were sent to the parents were sent to the congressman, and that started investigation number 3. So you got to keep in mind
people just not being ruled like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and kind of a nutshell. So this thing kept going on and on. Now, once the military families are able to show discrepancies, then this opened up to a hearing about whether the military still alive are able to talk. And this thing just kept building and building until finally they said, okay, there's enough evidence that everyone involved has one story and Hillary has a different one. Like, when we've not heard that before. So they said, okay, Hillary, in order to solve this, let's see the State Department's, your emails from from the State Department. Now, we're not talking her private server yet. That comes in just a minute. We're talking, and people get confused with this. It started with the State Department emails, is that she worked there, and it's like her work email, right? So let's look at your emails, Hillary. And then that was another fight about whether or not, the Congress can demand it and look at it, blah, blah, blah. So finally, that was turned over, and they looked at the emails. Well, there's a famous scene from the hearings that we talked about on that Long Benghazi show, where one of the representatives grilling Hillary famously did this. He said, look, Secretary of State Clinton, in 2 years before Benghazi, here are all the email correspondences that you have. We've printed them out for you. And
what
if you
year
remember,
did Benghazi happen?
I forget. Can you pull up what year was it?
Okay, go ahead. Keep
just pull it up. Anyway, the year or so before Benghazi, they just went into her email server and said, okay, let's look at all the correspondence that you had. And whatever it was, I forget. There was like thousands and thousands of emails, and they printed them out, and they had a stack in the Senate chambers where this hearing was.
2012.
Okay, so it was like 2010. They said, here are all the email correspondence you gave with everybody in your business in 2010.
September 11th.
And they go like this huge stack, boom, stack. This is all from 2010, Hillary. All right, now here's 2011, and there's an equal stack of just as large. This is like a bad joke, and this huge stack, boom. And they said, okay. And so, what was it, 2011, you said? 2012 it was? Yeah. Then they said, okay, then here's 2013. Boom, a big stack, or so to speak. But 2012, the year in question,
Post-it note.
There was like a couple Post-it notes, and I said, like, "Where is the email? Like, where's the rest of them?" She goes, it was a slow year," or whatever she said. What does it matter? So that was the first inkling that there was obviously huge deletions of emails, and this was the State Department, which is government property, which belongs to the people, supposedly, right? So that began the next investigation to where are these emails that were linked to Benghazi to find out who's telling the truth about the incident. So they investigate the emails. So what do they find? They find different things, but one of the things that stands out is that there is some email correspondence with Podesta. I believe it was Podesta.
Okay, now you're talking about the leaked Podesta emails, or
no. This
Department?
is just State Department.
Well, there's some there.
Yeah, there's some kind of correspondence with Podesta. And I believe if it wasn't Podesta, it was her other right-hand man, a Democrat, like flunky. And I think it was Podesta. If not, it was the other guy, and I forget his name. But let's go with Podesta right now. But if I'm wrong with this, guys, it's like, akin to Podesta. And I'm trying to remember if it was. But anyway.
They had a brother or something.
Yeah, well, he has a brother, yeah. But anyway, so they find some emails corresponding with Podesta. Now, the interesting thing is that
what was Podesta at that time? He was linked
he was linked to her campaign.
Yeah,
but this is the point. He had no clearance. There should be no correspondence with Podesta on a State Department email server regarding anything that's considered classified and top secret. He didn't have the clearance. He's just like her campaign person.
Now, he was part of Clinton administration back in the 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah. But the point is,
no, I understand he wasn't cleared, but I just want to know who these guys are.
Yeah. Right. So the Podesta goes like really deep. He's like Uma Al-Badin. Like he knows where all the bodies are buried. I'm sure. And this is how close. Look, Podesta
for the Democrat
Party,
and he was linked with the administration of her husband in the night. So Podesta has been operative from a long time.
Put it this way:
he was a United States well, you might have a yarmulke, but he was the equivalent of Jeffrey Epstein, in a lot of this stuff. Played that role.
Yes. And to show you how up there he is, you guys probably don't remember, especially for this audience, either half of you, like Davi, were trying to commit suicide. The other half of us were drunk from celebrating so much.
When was I trying to commit suicide?
When Trump won. And
I didn't care.
On election night. So anyway, Davi was on a bridge trying to find one in Arizona. But anyway, but the thing is,
a new picture at the DMV. Whatever.
I was doing something completely different. I don't think I even watched. No, that's what I did. I didn't watch the election.
What did you do? I don't want to get off topic, but what did you do election night?
So I had this whole game going. I called Schrodinger's President, which was as long as I don't observe the results, we're in a superposition of all possible results.
I like it.
And so as long as I don't know who the president is, a quantum possibility exists.
He could be either way.
The president could literally be anyone.
It could have been Ron Paul at the time.
It's a quantum superposition of all presidents.
That's right.
And I think I went like a month before I actually checked the results.
Okay, so Podesta.
So Podesta. So to give you an idea how powerful Podesta is or was or is that when Hillary lost...
I call it Schrodinger's ballot box. That's what I called it.
You know, I do like that. That would be a great meme. You should make... Yeah, that's a good one, Dobby. So,
pay attention to everybody's
when Hillary was probably using the colorful metaphors worse than, probably James Brown on a bender, when you've got that many... that much anger when she lost election night. Remember, the election was not closed. The Electoral College was completely for Trump. We weren't dealing with hanging Chads from California, and yet for the first time in modern history, you had a presidential candidate that refused to come out and concede publicly on election night. She never came out for that speech. Now, the whole world was still transfixed, like, what the hell just happened? But I still remember she never came out and spoke. Podesta came out on stage and told everybody, go home, we'll have some words tomorrow. And then, of course, it all switched to Trump coming out and celebrating the rest. But people always forget, how is it that for the first time ever, a candidate didn't come out? But Podesta came out. He was there in the room with her, clearly representing her on stage to the world. So get an idea how close this guy is. So anyway, Podesta, supposedly Obama said, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust anybody around you, Hillary. Obama's not stupid. He knows how corrupt these people are, which is why he wanted to separate them from his administration. So supposedly that's what really angered a lot of the Obama people, is that this email was found where she's corresponding with Podesta, but the email, I think, was like one way. Like, I don't know which one it was, but the emails from Podesta maybe they found, but her responses to them weren't there. Like, they were deleted. So whoever deleted them was not careful enough to get the back and forth correspondence. The point of this, guys, without getting too into the weeds,
they knew there were deleted emails,
is that there were deleted emails, proof that there was things that were being deleted, and things weren't going by code because someone who shouldn't have clearance, specifically called out by Obama not to have clearance, was getting emails from the State Department, and it was in there.
Donna Smoothies, thank you.
And those emails were deleted, which is why that pile, thank you, Donna, there was nothing there. So what this leads to, guys, is they said on hearing number 5 or whatever is, okay, well, where are these emails? And she's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And they said, well, it looks like, I don't know, with the router or whatever, I don't know, somehow that the search for these missing emails on the State Department server led to the trail of breadcrumbs that Hillary had another server. And that is what led to another investigation trying to find a separate server. Do you have another server, Hillary? No, sir, I don't.
Okay,
right.
How did they get leaked? At what point during this did all of a sudden they wind up on WikiLeaks?
Did what wind up on WikiLeaks?
Her private server emailed. Remember they're saying Russia hacked it or something?
Yeah, well, I don't know at what point then. I don't want to get in the wiki part right now, but what happened was somehow that led to, maybe it was through wiki, and this is part, I'll be honest, I have to clarify how they got that jump, but it was the investigation to the Panetta part, which opened the gate that there were missing emails that we knew. You could see it physically. And then that led to the private server, which she said she didn't have. Then they said, wait a minute, they proved she had a server that was in her bathroom. She goes, oh, you mean that black box with the little blinky lights on it in my bathroom next to the toilet scrubber? I didn't know what that was for. So that turned into, okay, well, do you have any work-related emails? Oh, no, it was Chelsea's wedding emails. It was private emails. It was yoga class. I mean, I'm seriously, that's what she said. So it had nothing, it was just private. Then they found emails that were related to work. And then they said, how come you have work on there? You said you didn't. Oh, well, that was a mistake. And well, do you have anything classified? Oh, of course not. Then they found classified emails. How come that? Well, then that turned into, well, they weren't classified at the time I received, and it turned into the word is and this sort of crap, right? Which is what sociopaths do. So we're talking 8 or 9 hearings to get to this point of these emails. Now, that led to the private email server of Hillary Clinton. Now, once that was found, they said, okay, well, now that we have proof that you're not telling the whole truth here, because there are emails that are work-related, and they are top secret and confidential, and they were confidential at the time that you received them, blah, 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 turn the goddamn thing over. And she's like, oh, I'm busy right now. And for a month, they kept warning her, and she wouldn't turn it over. Well, what we know she did over that month was she did 50-point encryption software, whatever, and some of you tech guys know better than me, but what I was told, it was like a 50-point encryption, resetting every 0 and 1 to 0 like 50 times for this entire server. So it took probably a month to do it. And if she pushed the envelope of being arrested until finally a federal judge who was appointed, I think he may have been African American, I'm not positive on that, I think he may be, but it was a federal judge appointed by Bill Clinton during the Clinton administration, who was the one that finally said, you will turn this over, Hillary, or we're going to have you arrested. And on the last day, like at the last minute before the police actually came, or the federal police, whatever, to arrest her, believe it or not, it got that close. She turned over the server, and of course everything's wiped out. Then of course they're looking for her cell phones and everyone she corresponded with, and she took a hammer and smashed them completely. Now, of course we get after Donald Trump over drinking a White Russian, but now, all of this went on, and nothing on the mainstream media, nobody wanted to cover this. But that is the deletion of all these emails. Now, the question is, who is she corresponding? What's on there? Well, the thing is, what we haven't found is where they have their information on the Clinton Foundation. And the Clinton Foundation, we know, we're dealing with all these rich, powerful people, and I'm sure, and we know, most likely, one of the contributors probably gave a few pennies, was probably a certain Epstein. I bet you Epstein donated. He definitely donated to the Clintons, and he was a major DNC supporter, so he's probably donated to the Clinton Foundation. I don't know for a fact. I would be surprised if he didn't, but what I'm getting to is there's correspondence with all of these rich, powerful people, many of which probably were on the island. Now, I have to be careful about speculation and too much conspiracy. But these same characters and these stories are all interlocked. So she scrubs it to a whole nother level. And remember, her private email server was not necessarily about Benghazi. The Benghazi was on the State Department server that she erased that. But that is a different story. When we want her private email server, that's not necessarily because it's got hidden notes about Benghazi. We just found it by circumstance. What else is on that server that was so important?
The fact that she even had one.
She had one to do it. And the Clinton Foundation, if people follow it, had so much hanky-panky already. And also, one of the concerns of the Clinton Foundation that Clinton Cash and other sources have shown through the years, we talked about on your show a few years ago, was the claim that the only place that they were doing charity work, kind of reminds me about a certain church I won't mention, where they take all this money from everybody and then they'll have like one little charity operation to say, you see, we do charity. They might donate to homeless person. The
only one I knew about was Haiti, and they were ripping them off.
Right. So they have the charity down in South America. It was Haiti, and they were ripping just as you were saying. But after the hurricane and these things occur over there, what do you have down there? You have many poor young people, including young girls and boys that have no parents, or they're foster. They have no one to protect them, no one to look after them, no one maybe even cares for them. And so think about the level of abuse that could happen if you have nefarious people involved looking for children. And there were some stories that we discussed. We discussed, like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang here. We discussed on this show that there was a link, I speculated, and I don't want to say I'm speculation because I don't have the article in front of me here, but we did talk about it. It was a news article where there was links of children from the Clinton Foundation that were being funneled up to a place in Colorado, like some kind of boarding home of people that the Clinton Foundation were working with. And I don't want to get too much because I don't want to say things too wrong. I just remember the point, the concept that we discussed, that there was discussion of these lost children from South America that may have been found through the Clinton Foundation that were being somehow in America. I mean, talk about open borders. That's probably another reason they don't like it. But anyway, so now you've got children that are linked to the Clinton Foundation. Then you've got Epstein, right, doing his stuff with the pedophilia island. You've got Clinton knowing about it, not just, who knows if he knew about it before he was indicted and found guilty the first time for one count of soliciting prostitution, which is what he got busted busted on. And then after after Epstein got busted the first time, Bill Clinton was seen palling around with Epstein again. And some media people said, Mr. President, don't you feel a little odd being seen in public with him? You do know he was, what he was convicted of. And Billy Bob goes, oh, you're right. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know. And Bill Clinton stopped hanging out with Epstein for a number of years. And he claimed that, I just didn't know. I guess it's bad for my image and my wife, right? Until about 4 or 5 years later, and Epstein shows up again, along with his associate, Gwendolyn, I think her name is. We'll talk about her in a little bit, at Chelsea's wedding. So here it is. Bill Clinton clearly forgot about the charges levied and probably figured, as usual, enough years went by and the mainstream media will never call him out on this. And so he's palling around Epstein again after the fact. Remember, Donald Trump banned him for life when the first inkling came out of any abuse that happened at Mar-a-Lago. It wasn't even public. Trump heard about it and said, "You're not allowed on my property again," and banned him for life before he was found guilty the first time. Bill Clinton's palling around with them on his plane after he was found guilty. So, this is night and day about what really happened, and we talked about it on the show.
I want to make this point. Trump, you like him, don't like him, whatever. One, he's obviously arrogant. He was already, wealthy, whether he's bankrupt or not. He was still wealthy. Okay, he was trained at a military academy. He had a tough father. He had a close family. He keeps, So I'm getting the impression that one of two things: either he had a big ego that he had to deal with or do whatever. He was insecure. He needed to have, the nice things, the nice people saying he's always reading, looking for his name in magazines and so on, trying to control his image or whatever. So you got to ask the question, was he insecure or is he self-confident? You see, when you have all these kind of people he chooses not to associate with, he's willing to say, no, not this guy, right, for his image, that regardless of what benefit he think he'd get, even with the Clintons, the fact that he got Clintons coming to his wedding and donating, being buds with them and everything, is it calculated? Does he select who? Did he do it? And the only way that you have somebody like that in a position to say no, to ban him from Mar-a-Lago, to all that kind of stuff, it gives impression of self-confidence. Even though it seems as arrogant or egotistic or whatever, it just, you have a standard and you stick by it and you do. There's a lot of evidence of that. And I'm wondering in Trump, the movie, how that would come out. He's always shown as kind of the sly businessman that's working the system and so on, which I'm sure he did, But I'm wondering personally how his kids see him as a self-confident individual or has a self-esteem problem, What do you think?
Oh, I don't think it's a self-esteem issue. I really don't.
It could be both. That's the
I
thing.
don't, and I don't say that. Go ahead.
A lot of people, self-confidence and the public persona they put forward is itself a defense mechanism from insecurities that they keep private. That's a pretty standard psychological model.
Yeah, like my kids, they would, like my father, I would go, yeah, he has a self-esteem thing. There was a lack of self. Even though he's bravado and all that kind of stuff, a lot of the motivation was because he had, need to fill get absolution or praise or acceptance or whatever. It's just,
you're compensating for a lack of self-esteem by earning the esteem of others. That's kind of the.
He was more authoritarian, demanding it by title. He's a shiny badge kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he got. Yeah, he was a deputy sheriff at one time. I'm like, you gave him a gun? Holy crap!
Hey, I just wanted to finish. I'll make this really quick. The punchline to my long monologue about the foundation and the emails and all of this is first to remind everyone the story of, because it gets lost with all of this. The State Department, the Benghazi, that led to the Clinton email thing. How we went through all of that, and then of course at the last minute when everything was deleted, then it turned out that Anthony Weiner, another sexual predator in the Clintons' orbit, all of a sudden he's got it on his cell phone or whatever because she's sharing emails with Uma. He's sharing emails with Uma Abedin along with young women with pictures of his penis, and all of that is happening. They find that cell phone of Weiner's right before the election. That the DOJ tried to deep six it, but the people, the middlemen of FBI agents that were probably more conservative saw what they were doing, and right before the election, that was going to twist the election. They were so angry they were jumping ship and threatening that the Comey and the rest that if you don't act on this cell phone before the election, then we're going to go public. And so there was like almost a mutiny inside the FBI, which led to Comey saying, okay, fine. And he gave the press conference. Yes, there's a cell phone. We're going to look into it, I promise. And then, of course, a few days later, you know what? There's nothing to see here. Move along. And that, of course, we know what happened there. So,
well, you know what happened there? You said don't look. They got out anyway. What happened?
No, they didn't get out. They said, well, we looked at it. There was nothing new here, and no prosecution. Remember the press conference he gave, the infamous press conference?
No, I remember that they came out that there was Weiner, which is Uma Abedin's husband, which they're back together again somehow or something. There's some weird thing going on there.
Oh, jeez.
But they said, yes, we have all these emails that were anything that Uma Abedin was in, went forwarded on the laptop that
Anthony Weiner got.
that Weiner had, or
and
a
then,
tablet.
And then Weiner was busy corresponding with that tablet to his phone, and that phone was being used with pictures of his penis again. He was soliciting minors for sex. I mean, how many people do you know that tend to be pedophiles or sexual predators all around you? You've got Weinstein, Epstein, you've got Weiner, and that's a whole other thing.
It's because it's connected to the lust for power.
It's a minimum job requirement to be in government.
All right, so look,
this is my point.
Wait. So the punchline to this, guys, is the two most significant pieces of evidence that we've had to unify this, not just about the Clintons, but this deep state, ring of power, pedophilia, of corruption on all levels. It's not the pedophilia is just a side effect.
Yeah, it's just a teeny little glimpse into this.
Exactly.
Everything,
exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Stanley Kubrick's. What was the last movie he did? Eyes Wide Shut. It's kind of like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
And so you get a glimpse of the power that they can have an island with this amount of people around the world and get away with this stuff. Not to mention pull a switch and get a guy, to off himself in the middle of his high security. But what are the two? If you can say, okay, what do we know as far as layman nobodies? The two things that could link this together. It was Hillary Clinton's emails on that server and Brian Epstein, and both of them gone.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. I keep saying Brian. Sorry, Brian Epstein's a different person. Jeffrey Epstein.
I know. Whoever it is.
he's in Hollywood too. But anyway, so those two, if you think about it, that's why, guys, these emails that the left and Bernie Sanders, enough about those emails, those damn pesky emails, like Scooby-Doo here. No, the reason they're so important, it's not about Benghazi. Benghazi opened up to those emails, but that private server has everything else the Clintons have been dealing with. And you've got Epstein doing all this crap, and he gets whacked. So those are the two. So the question is, when this new Department of Justice report comes out, which supposedly is going to be in September or maybe October, we'll see if or how much they maybe report of those emails that were recovered. Word on the street is, and I think Giuliani even talked about it and some others, not that Giuliani's word on the street, but from other sources, is that those emails were not completely deleted, that they were able to recover many of them, and they've been holding their cards. As I've said, the ultimate rope-a-dope is what Trump's been doing until after the whole Russia crap fell apart, which it did. The wind is at his back, and just like Muhammad Ali against George Foreman, the rope-a-dope, it's all about to start to come out, in my opinion, Q or no Q. And so if these emails come out with links to Epstein, at the same time now that even the mainstream is being forced to acknowledge the Epstein, and the progressive, I said progressive, I pointed at Davi, I didn't mean to, but it's just a reflex there, sorry. But
progress.
But I mean, so that's what I'm getting to, is that those two, both of them got whacked. The fact that the left never cared about the Hillary Clinton emails, that's just a talking point for the right. But now they're recognizing there's something not to be trusted with Epstein and the so-called suicide story. If he's linked to the Clintons in any way, either more women start to come out and say, yeah, it was Bill Clinton, because all these civil cases might
where's
drop.
Monica?
Maybe the videos.
What does she know?
You got other stuff out there. Then it might link directly to these emails. We'll see how much is out there. So I think there's a link between those emails and the Epstein case. That's my take on this.
Where are these? We had the DNC emails leak, wiki. All of a sudden, Seth Rich. We haven't even got into that.
Yeah, really.
And so Seth Rich was a young, idealistic DNC, and he's like, yeah, they're being bad in here, and I want to add dead. Okay, so then that's done. Then you go the Podesta emails come out, and those came from where? The Podesta emails, everybody was going over, and you started having all this weird pedophilia crap and everything. Where did those come from?
Yeah. That was exposed with WikiLeaks. That was the WikiLeaks thing.
Okay, so that's WikiLeaks. Then there's, but they was that a Seth Rich? Is that part of the Seth Rich thing? I don't know.
No. The
Seth Rich. They were saying
that was the DNC server. That was different. Yeah.
That was DNC. But then the Podesta
That's right,
emails.
It's the third server. I forgot the DNC server.
Yeah, they were going on about these people. This is how Russian hackers did it and all this stuff. And maybe not. I don't know. I'm looking at all this QAnon stuff and everything as years go by. This is the impression that I'm getting, and shoot a drop on what may be going on. They were going on about how the white hats at the NSA, if there is such a thing, that these guys been covering everything. If it's ones and zeros, they got it. It came out of little ones and zeros, encrypted or not. They got quantum. We get the whatever, and you think encryption is good, and we're not telling you.
Even if they didn't decrypt it, they still captured it and held it until they could.
Right. Yeah, no, that's ones and zeros, and then they sit there and they do like the Turing machine. He's out there on Enigma and World War II and hammering on there, and all of a sudden now I know everything. Okay? So it is, or they had some other thing, or they just saw this. This is why I'm going, don't tell me how great and wonderful your encryption is. Can you see my screen? That's all I want to know. Can they see the screen? It doesn't matter how encrypted anything is. If they're monitoring the screen, if they got keyloggers, they got it. So don't tell me that it's all secret. The transmission may be, but what if they're just, they got a little camera. They got a mosquito camera over on your shoulder sitting there watching your screen, transmitting with a bug fly of what, don't laugh, okay? So I am looking, don't ever think that you're going, if they want to know, they know. So I'm going, yeah, they have this information. Who had it? What do they want to do with it? They're arguing that there are white hat NSA guys that are getting this flow of information. They're sitting there looking around. We're supposed to be America and Snowden kind of thing. So you got Edward Snowden type sitting there getting this raw data going, what the hell? This is uncovering what the hell? And what it came from, there was another person, I went through this before, I got a book up here, classified woman, Sibel Edmonds. Here's someone, patriot, she was Iranian, she comes into the United States, her father was a doctor in Iran, they come and all that, and she knows how to speak a lot of languages. So she comes in and says, I'll translate FBI, do all kinds, you got a backlog of all kinds of goodies, and I'll go ahead and help you. As she's listening to this stuff with Turkey, she comes across like Podesta emails, all this stuff. She's listening to them, how they're going to be, using a lesbian operative to convert a bisexual congresswoman that they're doing yada yada yada. Then this person later comes to work at the place she's translating.
Yeah,
and she's like, whoa, what the hell? So then she goes to the guy that hired her, which was part of the problem, but that's how the rules say you're supposed to go to your supervisor. Her FBI, she was working with some FBI guys interrogating people, and they're going, what are you, stupid? So that was my thing. I'm going, Sibel, come on, man. I mean, they had her on, we talked about this stuff over the years. But the thing is that I'm going, yep. Once you get this information by hook or crook or I'm the NSA thing, then what? Do you want the people to know that you even got that level of surveillance? Do you want them to know that you're surveilling? Do you want to know how they're doing it? Do you want to know it? So eventually, it finally gets to where this QAnon thing, they're going on, these guys in the intelligence community, retired and live, are going, man, we need a coup. They saw it coming in the Obama administration. Could have been coming for freaking ever. But they were like, oh, man, this is bad. We got to do something. But the people won't take a coup. They won't understand it. They won't know how bad this thing is. We have to get this out to the people, the general public, to know how bad this is and that we use our system of justice to fix it, even if it takes whatever. Trump wins. It goes, a lot of stuff probably came out because of them, before the election, and probably, Trump, they're like, aha, we got Trump elected, we're all free now. And yeah. So then you have Trump comes in, and while he's doing his transition team at his Trump Towers, all of a sudden there's an admiral head of NSA of what's his name, comes in and goes, yeah, I need to meet with the president-elect. something transpired there. He's going, they're surveilling you. They got FISA warrants. They're doing all this stuff. They're trying to do a soft coup, blah, 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 blah. And then they, boom, and they moved their transition team to Mar-a-Lago or New Jersey or something. They went somewhere else. So they leave that and they're going, yep, we're under surveillance. So at that time, if he didn't already know, he knew it would happen sooner or later, Trump is like, all right, give them rope. Let them dig their hole. Yep. You just keep doing it. You just keep going. You just keep doing that. That's good. While he's calling BS on the media, knowing this was coming. Knowing this. I think he already knows.
He knows all this. Yeah, he knows.
It's how are you going to get, and this is what one of my sons is just on my ass about the QAnon thing. He goes, look, the reason I go, nope, you got to do it. I go, just skip to the end and give me the summary. Nope, you got to. Finally, he gave me this one article that was written. Somebody went from the beginning and kind of just did an overview of what the hell was going on. I read it and I go, wow, that's pretty cool. His idea is that the American people and the world in general can't lower themselves enough to understand how pervasive and how expansive this stuff is. They need to be walked through the labyrinth and shown all these step by step by step. And the Jeffrey Epstein thing is, here we go.
Watershed issue.
My strong suspicion is that we're pulling the curtain on a labyrinth that's been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
and
at least.
This is just a feature of political power that's always been there, and it's only because this is the generation that has the communication ability to put these facts together.
And why the internet, all the FANG out there,
banned,
yeah, it's all these internet guys that are products of the government.
Yep.
And this is one thing when they, I don't want to, just beat the living crap out of them, but I want to show you how invasive this is. We know Jeffrey Tucker. Jeffrey Tucker is a decent enough guy and everything. We were at, there was a blockchain forum thing they were doing at PorkFest, and you had Naomi What's-Her-Face, and I think Pasilla was there, and some other guys. So there's leaders in blockchain. Well, you got Bowtie Jeffrey Tucker up there trying to give a positive spin on Facebook's Libra. Yeah, crypto's coming. Blockchain technology. Well, Libra's not going to be anything near even close to whatever the hell we want anyway. But he was going on, but private companies got, and I went, whoa, freaking whoa. You're propagating the idea that Facebook is a private company?
Yeah.
Since when? I'm like, no, bullshit.
Yep.
This is the mindset they want to put us in. Now, I'm all about private companies. The private company that's legally allowed and not beaten into the ground that's wanting to compete with Facebook, those guys, they want to do it, which there are. There's other, it's like Float. Yeah. Kingsley Edwards and Aaron Nakamoto, they create Float, a social media thing that's embedded. It's a wallet, crypto. You think they're going to get the kind of support that Facebook gets from the government?
Probably not.
Hell no. They're not private. So this whole thing is like you're saying, it's been around forever.
Yeah.
It's a continuation of, and for 20 years at least, I realized this in the 90s, and I go, being a pedophile is a minimum job requirement for being a congressman.
Well, you at least got to be into that power dynamic.
Yeah.
You may not have actually done it yet, but now you're amongst a bunch of people who do.
And if you haven't, they're going to invite you.
You know what was interesting and probably the most shocking, and granted, it's only one unsealing. We're just getting to the tip of the iceberg of this. Was what's his name? My brain's gone here. The attorney.
Bill that narrows it down.
No, Alan Dershowitz. Okay. Right? I mean, Dershowitz, you guys don't realize.
Never would have gotten there.
So Alan Dershowitz, if you guys don't know, you guys know who he is, right?
Yeah, okay. He's an attorney, but he was accused of going Epstein's plane and all that
but the thing is, he's a Harvard attorney, and he was a darling of the left as far as he was on CNN and all that for the years. But what you guys don't, maybe you do, because I know both of you secretly watch Fox all day, but on Fox News the last couple
I haven't
years.
watched Fox since George W. Bush won his first election.
So if I go on Fox, I want to watch it on my Roku. Oh, you got to go to your computer and sign in with this number, and we got an anal probe. And
so what you guys don't realize is that on Fox News, Alan Dershowitz has been kind of a darling of Fox News the last couple years, and the reason is he prides himself on constitutional law, and as such, he's he's separating himself from the media machine of this Russia conspiracy. He actually has been, like he says, he's not in the camp for Trump necessarily, but like Tim Pool, he's acting as like a moderate Democrat, saying that, the left has gone too far, and by going down this witch hunt, essentially is what he was saying, we are setting precedents up that can backfire on Democrats later and the American people, right? I mean, he's made some really common sense points, and because being a Democrat, he was popular on the Sean Hannity show and many shows the last couple of years. If you put up Alan Dershowitz's Fox News interview, I mean, he's all over the place. He had some of the best interviews, and it was their kind of like the token Democrat Harvard professor that was defending, if not Republicans, at least the rule of law from our point of view. Anyway, so it's fascinating, of all the people, he gets flagged, and of course we're never going to see Alan Dershowitz on Fox News again as of now. So what is his link to this? Do you guys know Alan Dershowitz's link?
No.
Let me tell you, Ernie. You sitting down? Ernie,
I
make
can't
sure
wait.
you're sitting down. Alan Dershowitz, as popular and famous as he's been as an attorney through the years and high-profile cases, he was the defense attorney for Jeffrey Epstein in the first case.
No.
He was the defense attorney and got him off.
Him
and then
talking
he
about
shows,
the case.
So he must know more than came out in the trial.
He defends. Wait. Let me tell you a couple of things. He defended Epstein. Later on, it's either before or after I think after he defended Epstein, he wrote an article talking about how the age of consent for girls or men should be dropped to something like, don't quote me, 13, 14 or something. He was making, or 16, I think he was making the point that if you're at an age where you're allowed to have consent to have a baby, then that is the consent you should be allowed to have sex. So if you're able to have a baby at 15 or 16 and you're able to take care of it and all the rest of that, his argument, if I get this correct, was, well, then you should lower the consent of sex to that age. Now, he made that point years ago. Probably people thought, he's just being, whatever, he's being a little liberal and constitutional, whatever you want to say. But that quote has come back to bite him in the ass huge the last few days. So he defends Epstein, gets him off where he just gets one count of soliciting prostitution. He gets that sweetheart deal where he plays out his little sentence of 1 year, most of it under house arrest in his beautiful mansion. I'm sure that was tough. And then on top of that, he makes the statement about consensual sex, and then it turns out he is unsealed in the document from the grand jury as one of those that had, I think, 6-7 times. I think supposedly that this woman, Virginia Johnson, which we're going to play right now, and you'll see, he's one of them that was called out. So and then of course he's on Fox News the last few years defending Trump. So I don't know, this thing is insane. So I have to get going just a little bit. Can we put up that YouTube video with Virginia? I think that'll say a lot real quick.
Yeah, I got this. I was looking at
this
pull it up. Dershowitz thing. I'm like, God. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're looking at how teen runaway. Now, this is a 7-minute video.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the whole 7 minutes?
Yeah, let's watch them. It's riveting. If you guys have the video right now, put it on, or you can just pull it up on YouTube. Here we go.
All right.
You can glean a lot from just listening. You don't have to see the pictures, although, if you want to see pictures of Democrat sleazeballs.
All right, now are we going to turn off our mics? Or are we commentary?
Yeah, let's do comment. Yeah, I'm not going to talk much. Let's go.
All right, go. Editor's note, the following video contains graphic content.
But this is the woman that first really came forward and broke this a few years ago.
Young, I was scared. I knew these people were powerful. I didn't know what would happen if I said no. I didn't know what would happen if I reported them.
Yeah.
That 16-year-old girl just let it happen. And that was how I got into the abuse with Jeffrey and Ghislaine.
Virginia Roberts was working in the spa at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein.
The training started immediately. I mean, it was everything down to how to give a blowjob, how to be quiet, be subservient, give Jeffrey what he wants. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself. And being a woman, it kind of surprises you that a woman could actually let stuff like that happen, but not only let it happen, but to groom you into doing it. And then there's Jeffrey who's telling you, I want it this way, no, go slower, and don't do that, and do this.
including sexual activities, use of sexual toys. Ghislaine Maxwell trained her.
It's her testimony.
You're just thrown into a world that you don't understand, and you
That was
don't know how to. You're screaming on the inside, and you don't know how to let it come out, and you just become this numb figure who refuses to feel and refuses to speak and refuses. All you do is obey. That's it. And eventually, it led to, well, now we're going to experiment and we're going to try you with another guy and see how you go. So they sent me to an island with a professor, and I basically had to do what I did for Jeffrey for him. So it's very private. It's the perfect world for a billionaire getting away with what he was doing. He could hold big parties there and have huge orgies there, and nobody would have any idea what was going on because it was so quiet and so protected. You know, it started with one, and then it trickled into two, and then so on and so forth. And you know, before you know it, I'm being lent out to politicians and to academics and to people that royalty.
Roberts claimed in an affidavit the two of the men that Epstein lent her out to were attorney Alan Dershowitz and Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. Dershowitz and Prince Andrew have both denied any involvement with Roberts. A judge later struck Roberts' affidavit from the court record, but the ruling did not address the veracity of her allegations. Dershowitz said he was nonetheless vindicated. Logs from Epstein's private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, show a host of high-powered politicians, academics, and celebrities.
It's called Lolita Express for a reason. That was a vessel for him to be able to abuse girls and get away with it without anybody being alarmed or any alarm bells going off. It was all the same no matter where you went. All Jeffrey cared about was, go find me more girls. To me, still to this day, it is my biggest shame that I carry around that I will never get rid of. And I'm really, really sad that I brought other girls my age and even younger into a world that they should have never been introduced to.
At age 19, Roberts said that she was sent to Thailand to take a massage course and to pick up a girl for Epstein. Instead, she fell in love and moved to Australia, where she and her husband live with their 3 children.
I escaped. I called Jeffrey to let him know that I was not coming back and I was not bringing the little Thai girl back, and he said, you know what, have a nice life, and hung up the phone. And that was it. And I thought, I'm off the hook, I'm off the chain, I can go, I can live free. 2007, I was pregnant with my middle son, and I get a phone call from Ghislaine one day in Australia. I'm in Australia. I was like, how the hell did she just find me? Like, I've been out of their life for so long, what's going on? She's like, have you talked to anybody? Have you told anybody what's happened? Like, you know, have you reported us or anything? And I said, no. I haven't spoken to anybody. Okay, good. You stay like that. You stay quiet. The next day, Jeffrey calls me with his lawyer on the phone, and he asks me the same questions. Have you talked to anybody? Are you going to report me? Are you going to talk to anybody? And I'm like, where is this all coming from? Like, what is going on? The next day, I get another phone call. And this time, it's from an FBI agent. Like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah from the FBI. Have you given Jeffrey Epstein a blowjob? Did you have a shower with Jeffrey Epstein? Did you ever bring any girls over for Jeffrey Epstein? I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I mean, unless you can come over here and show me some official documentation that says that you're with the FBI, I am not saying a word to you. And about 6 months later, I get a knock at the door, and it's the Australian Federal Police. It was like a 12-page document about Jeffrey Epstein and what he had done and how, you know, I was a victim and they've identified me as one. It takes a long time to start the healing process. I mean, I will never heal. There are pieces from me that can never be put back together. It takes so long to get to a point where you're able just to speak about it. I mean, it took me having a daughter and looking at this beautiful, young, innocent baby to say, I want to speak out about it now. You know, if we can make that point across, that doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, there are girls out there that will speak up, and I don't care if it's 10 years later or 15 years later, whenever you're ready to do it, you do it, you know, and you protect the ones that are younger than us. You protect the ones that we didn't protect before. These guys will get it in the end, because us girls are not going to sit here and just let this keep happening.
Yeah, who protected you? You know, somebody.
See, and that sounds like a Me Too commercial, which I'm not saying in a bad sense.
Roberts and about 24 other girls sued civilly. Let me get this back. I want to see. let's see, sued Epstein for damages. The cases were all settled, and the amounts were secret. She also sued Maxwell, and that case was also settled. Maxwell has denied any wrongdoing, never been charged, so they're just paying off. It's a Weinstein thing. Dershowitz represented Epstein during a federal investigation of his crimes in 2007. The case ended in a state plea deal, which Epstein served 13 months in a county jail, kinda. As part of the plea deal, Epstein was forced to register as a sex offender. But on December 4th, a civil trial is set to begin against Epstein, Palm Beach. We'll see how that goes. All right. Well, this is just a tip.
Yep.
Now, there's so much more, and it's good that she came out. But there was another woman, too.
But if you think about it, at the very end, though, Ernie, sorry to interrupt, it was almost like that was the call. That sounded like the echo of what we hear of women, it's time to come out. And the Me Too movement, in many ways, was almost like priming the pump of what might really come out now. You know, to show the movie stars, as much as I can't stand Hollywood, you've got movie stars coming out, Ashley Judd and the rest, saying it doesn't matter if they're a Democrat or your friend or whatever. Corey Feldman. If you were wronged, come out. And so Hollywood maybe still has a role here of being the so-called role models. I know for Davia and you guys are role models. And now the regular, people who have no names, they're the ones now that might start to come out because of the lead of Hollywood. So it's possible.
Okay, we were in Vegas at Freedom Fest. Corey Feldman was there in the casino. Now, well, he wasn't there for that. We just happened to see him in the casino.
Oh, okay.
And Luke Radowski, I didn't see him, but Luke was telling, whoa. He went over, he's like, hey, man, let's do the interview.
Really?
So he got his information, and he was supposed to see him. I don't know if it happened or not, but they got kind of hooked up. Luke Radowski, Corey Feldman, I'm looking for that one, okay?
Sure.
We'll see what happens. But he was there at the hotel. He's like, and he goes, yeah, I got to do this thing and everything. I'd like to talk to you, and then it went off, and I don't know what happened. But if that would... Corey is, of course, he's like our contemporaries. He was like a child
He was
star.
a Goonie.
Yeah, he was a child star when, my kids were little and so on.
Lost Boys. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Goonies. He was, well, this one's my wish. I'm going to, he was that guy.
No, that wasn't him. That was the other.
Oh, that was the other kid. No, it was his friend.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what was the scene with him?
Corey Haim? That was his buddy, Corey Haim. That was the other.
No. I'm just saying, Feldman, which character? I know which character. I can picture him in Goonies.
I just don't remember what he did.
He was his best friend. He was his friend that going around doing. He was the guy that tied his brother to the chair, and then they took off and all that stuff. But anyway, so Corey Feldman, I knew him, of course, because I got kids and watching Goonies 500 times.
Oh, he's the one that broke the penis off the David statue.
Right. No, that was the chubby guy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But so what happened is he comes out of all of the pedophilia that went on in Hollywood and how they were groomed just like these girls, but it was boys. Okay, it was the same kind of thing. Hollywood, they kind of groom and get a little bit more, and if you want the money and the fame, and you got to learn to suck cock. So I'm going, this is just,
this grooming thing is a pattern. I mean, it's one of the risks I think that's going on is that when somebody is accused or when things come to light, that person has put themselves in a position where they're politically useful to a lot of people. And so those people, whether they're on the right or the left, like both sides do this, they jump to the defense of the person they're politically aligned with because they're politically useful to them. And so they have this whole echo chamber of people denying the allegations that don't actually know what they're doing. And so,
they got a name and somebody recognizes, and they're doing. It's
just
like
it
Uma
comes to light
Thurman.
eventually. But this is why people circle around these people and try to protect them and defend them and deflect the accusations, and you know what I mean? Like, this happens
because they got some incentive, And it's like Uma Thurman when she did Kill Bills and so on. There's she didn't like it something with Harvey Weinstein. Because they were, and Quentin Tarantino was all tight with Weinstein. Weinstein, you look at a lot of his old movies, it's I think Once Upon a Time in the Hollywood, I thought I saw a Weinstein credit in there, or something, so it might have been before whatever. But so God, what was it we saw? Was it recent? It was recently. Maybe it was another movie. But anyway, Weinstein, Quentin Tarantino, and Uma Thurman, they're all tight. Well, Uma's like, she's got stories. And I like the way Roseanne Barr addressed this. She goes, you know, what the hell did you think was going on? You just a hoe. You got what you wanted. You got your part. You got your thing. And all you had to do was a little whatever. Well, you know, then don't go to his room at 2 a.m, you dumb bitch. You know, I mean, this kind of, because these are adult women that are going through this stuff. You know, the younger girls, so and that's a whole nother thing. That's somebody's got to stay after school on that one. But Corey Feldman still, I don't think, has got his due. He has, all of a sudden, he's a lot more credible now. Yeah, you're probably right. Yep, you know, but they still ostracise him and just give him crap because you broke ranks.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, you're a rank breaker.
Yeah, but the thing is, he keeps staying on the fence. He's breaking ranks, saying there's pedophilia out there, but he won't name the names, and he keeps like hedging on it. And it got to the point he's turned into the little boy cried wolf. He keeps going, any day I'm going to tell you the names, and then he backs down.
No, he's waiting for the payoff or something.
Well, that's what he said. Well, he says that he wants to I think he did a GoFundMe or something. He says he's not going to come out until he has enough money to pay for the protection and attorneys that he's going to need to battle.
That might be the case.
Which could be. And that's why he's purposely not coming out.
He knows what he's up against.
Yeah, they might be threatening him. There might be other sorts of blackmail in place against him.
But exactly. But he's losing. But the thing is, for a lot of people, they got tired of him. He was one of the first to come out, and he keeps hedging. And then when Corey Haim died, you know, his buddy. Remember the two Corys? I assume you guys remember. So Corey Haim died of suicide. Was it drug overdose or suicide?
Well, think about this woman.
But he was also abused. He was abused as well, and that was kind of the issue.
That was a whole group of these boys.
Yeah.
Think about this woman, Virginia Roberts, right? We just watched this audio, and she says one of the things that she's groomed to do is to go and recruit other girls, right? So now they're in a perfect position as a pedophile ring to put pressure on her to say, hey, if you blow the whistle, we're going to tell them about all the girls that you recruited. Like, that's obviously like an avenue for controlling people and keeping them from blowing whistles. So I'm not certain, but it would not surprise me at all if there were things like that involved with Corey Feldman and why he isn't coming out with everything.
It takes an infographic walkthrough Spygate kind of fold out whatever the hell to go through this so that we can comprehend it.
It's why you grant people immunity to testify. Like, because people who are involved in these things inadvertently or even coerced into being involved in the criminal activity themselves.
Here we go. Miami Herald identifies 80 victims who allege Jeffrey Epstein sexually abused them.
Whoa.
Did you say 60?
80.
80?
Yeah, no, this is it. You know, that's it. I mean, it's going to be, and especially God forbid, you know, or God allow, or God encourage that these kids start getting money from the Epstein, billions of whatever the hell. You know,
sure.
You want to own a piece of an island? They're going to come out like you wouldn't believe then, you know, and then you got to sift through who's really, you know, abused and what evidence they have.
That's
or
interesting.
Tell the story.
Because the victims would have a better chance of taking some of his estate if he were alive. The fact that he's dead and that whatever his will is going to be enacted before the trial is resolved, before the case is resolved, probably means that money goes into someone else's hands.
I would
at least more of it.
That with criminal behavior of a RICO thing that they're going to do, a racketeering kind of the FBI, they went to they went to the island to take it. It's now Guantanamo Mini.
Okay.
You know, it's whatever they're going to do. It's ours now. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, you know, maybe and then you got to sue the government to give you a cut. You know, I mean, how's that going to go? So, and it's just, God forbid somebody goes there and actually finds a little vault of the safe of the buried of the, you know,
his Polaroid collection. That's what they're looking for.
Really? Is that what they're?
People keep trophies. That's something that they do.
They found a bunch of. They go, yeah, these are. They have photos of girls in various different, you know, just like mug shots or doing sexual stuff or whatever, and they have their attributes and look at this ankle, butt, toe, whatever your fetish is or something to the shopping cart of something, and I wonder how sophisticated this stuff gets. If you got the NSA, they can, pretty much make you believe they can see any and everything, but they don't want you to know how, or they can decrypt anything, or what. You don't know.
Or you just work to have an inside guy at the NSA. Like, that's the thing. This is not all in the halls of government. It's a bipartisan thing that reaches into media, that reaches into Hollywood, that reaches into various government agencies. Like, there's no reason, if you're a pedophile in a seat of power, that you would not attempt and proactively try to get agents on your
Yeah,
team.
you'll have young-looking little Thai CIA agents at 22 playing 17 and go be somebody. And
No, I mean,
she's
like,
an
you
agent
want to
or
get
whatever.
leverage on the investigator. If you're running a pedophile ring and you're importing Thai people, well, then you want to get somebody in immigration that you've got some leverage on so that they can push some paperwork around for you. Like, that's the way that these things operate. So it's not like it's taking place inside one department or inside one hall of government. It's a thing that reaches out
Whoever
into
the
all
guy
of these
that
places.
where rubber meets the road, the person standing there at the passport checker guy.
Yeah.
You know, all they got to do is, whatever, you know. See, this is how terrorists get in to do bombings, and the CIA and the State Department clears or the whatever to get through this kind of stuff. All you got to do is know a guy. Well, these guys know people in government at every level of everything. So I'm interested in not just the victims made whole and have their story told, but for it to be mapped out of what happened, who did it, how. This is just the teeny tiny tippy of. We need a little something on, and pull that file, because I remember one of the big deals. We'll end on this. Yeah, I know you got to go. I want you to tell me about Epoch Times real quick before you go, though. But one of the big things that I lost my train of thought. Well, one of the things that we always look is, really, you guys want to play? So he funded a lawsuit against them by Hulk Hogan when they published his stolen porn or some crap like that, and of him and his wife or something. And so he goes, "Yep, I'm going," and he bankrupted them. He's like, "Oh, and they're stick your head up, boom, bankrupt them again too." There will be somebody, one of these girls got an uncle, somebody's got a pile, somebody's got something, or just a good Samaritan if I was abused as a kid, something that is a, dynasty, I got a big thing, cosmetic line of whatever, and I created my own star chamber, and we're taking care of business prices now that can go out and they freaking hate that crap. You're not allowed to compete. You deliberately ducked, okay? I see star chamber stuff coming. There's getting to the point where you have government loses all credibility. The people take care of business because Davi and I were talking about this before. What are the things that government does that people insist or want doing that they try and justify the existence of government? You have private fire suppression, private security, private this. But if it works, private libraries, well, then you got to put it under government because you got to have government. So then you got, government police and government fire and government, libraries, government law enforcement, government, doing all. Well, that's because people demand justice.
Yeah.
If they lose credibility in government, they're not going to be the source of justice. They're not going to be the blind, folded justice to weigh in the weights of who and what and where. If they're not that, people start going, we'll take care of business. And in the 90s, when they had assassination politics using blockchain, using encryption, I remember there was a kid just, talked about it in Oregon. Boom! Secret Service came down and hell no, you're not even allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
So this is coming anyway.
What's happening now? And I mean, just, as a matter of fact, Stefan Molyneux, I always get his last name, Molyneux.
Yeah, that's close.
Molly who?
He made a great point, in which I think to echo to end on that, which is what you're saying, is that this is a constitutional crisis, but let's just say it's a constitutional crisis in confidence, because if this guy can be whacked as he was, and the mainstream media just comes out blatantly and says, he
dead?
committed suicide, if both sides, Democrats, Republicans, all agree, if the joke, it became a joke, he said it was a meme, people saying, hey, how many days until he gets Clinton? I mean, it's one thing to kind of laugh at it, but look, let's be honest, it's a serious issue. The fact that we have such little confidence that we are all joking, any day now he's done, and most of the entire country all knows that he was whacked and we were lied to. That's a confidence crisis, on par with what you're talking about. So that's kind of where we're at. I got to go. You mentioned about the Epoch Times. I told you on the air a few weeks ago, I decided to pull the trigger.
Hold it up.
And I did subscribe to the Epoch Times. There we go.
Now, where's it published out of? Who are they?
Well, I'll have to talk more details about them later, but they They have a great channel. I found them on YouTube, the Epoch Times channel with Gina Shakespeare. She does a fantastic job. To me, that's almost the news anymore, which, I get it from different sources, of course, but to have an organization that has no hyperbole, and the irony is when I turn people on to the Epoch Times on the YouTube channel, the one complaint I hear from everybody, even people, who listen to the show and others, is it seems boring. Because there's no hyperbole. It's just saying the news like it used to be. But
this looks like a real newspaper.
It is a real newspaper. So they have.
No, I mean back the way they used to be.
And what it used to be, exactly. It's amazing. What's so odd is getting a newspaper in your mailbox. I mean, it's not delivered to my front door. It's in the mailbox.
Well, how often do they publish?
It's like once. It was a couple times a week. I get the newspaper. I think 2 times
August
a week.
August 8th to 14th. So. It's like
is it a weekly? Yeah, it's a week. Okay, so I get a weekly newspaper, but every day I get an email update. So whatever current events are happening for that day, I get an email every day, and I can forward it to my friends. Then every week I get a real newspaper that has, it has a food section. It has a home section.
No, it's a newspaper.
It's a real newspaper.
It's like they used to be. Now they're penny savers thrown on
and the kicker is what I found unique, and it took me a minute to figure out why. It was odd looking at a newspaper, and then this might be different from my buddy Davi here, but to look at the newspaper and not get pissed. I'm so used to just looking at a paper and just rolling my eyes and getting frustrated.
How many times do we go, like Davi and I will go do breakfast and we're doing stuff. We go to a diner and you see this kind of, I just want my brain cells back. There's no reason to even buy it. Somebody leaves it there at a table, you pick it up and you go, what the hell? What the F is this even for?
And so
put down that fish wrap.
But to have
a
paper where you actually, for me, maybe my own bias, of course, but where I'm not angry and it's stuff worth reading, at least to me. So
cover story on the Hong Kong protests. That's the news I've been having trouble finding.
Yeah, on Google and different things. So anyway, check it. I'll leave this with you.
Yeah.
Also, if you do subscribe, you get a free copy of that poster. Which, by the way, I need to take it with me. Do you still have it somewhere? Do you know where it's at?
Donna knows. It's in.
All right, I'll grab real quick. I'll bring it back, but I wanted to.
Well, this was a flow. Is a big. They created for their subscribers
Spygate.
this big flow chart on Spygate. Peace out, guys. Yeah,